Content warning. This video is about a sensitive topic involving loss of life. We've removed any graphic content to comply with YouTube's guidelines. We aim to provide informative, factual journalism on a tragic event in the public interest that does not dismiss its seriousness. All clips are used under the doctrine of fair use for news reporting and analysis. On November the 21st, 2021, the 58th annual Christmas parade was taking place in Waukesha, Wisconsin. This was a wholesome yearly celebration of Christmas that's been going on there for decades. The theme of this year's parade was comfort and joy, something which sadly didn't last long. As it turned out, pure evil was speeding towards the festivities. At around 4:39 p.m, a red Ford Escape SUV plowed through the barricades. The driver, using the vehicle as a weapon, would begin to deliberately target people in the crowd, ramming into them in a zigzag motion in an attempt to take as many innocent lives as possible. The parade was being live streamed and the carnage was captured for the whole world to see in real time. When the dust settled, 5 people were confirmed killed and 48 others were injured. 4 of the dead were innocent grandmothers who were part of a wholesome group called the Milwaukee Dancing Grannies. Within 2 days of the attack, the number of people reported injured had risen to 62 and the death toll had risen to 6, including an 8-year-old child who had died in the hospital. The heartless killer was identified that same day as Darrell Edward Brooks Jr., a failed rapper with a dark criminal history and a psychotic mind. After his arrest, many questions remained. Who was this psychopath? What would drive him to do such a despicable act? And would he ultimately be held to justice? What unfolded in the aftermath became one of the most bizarre stories in true crime history, as Darrell Brooks' strange and sordid backstory was slowly revealed to the public, as the internet uncovered his embarrassing failed rap career with incriminating music videos tying him and his car to the murder. This led up to a farcical trial where not only did Darrell Brooks represent himself in the courtroom, mounting perhaps the worst defense to 6 murders in criminal history, but he didn't just represent himself badly, he initiated a media circus that included attempts to intimidate the judge, barricading himself away from cameras in the courtroom, using Reddit rage bait posts to try and have the whole case thrown out, and a harebrained legal defense based on the sovereign citizen movement that attempted to argue that he was simply a free man who was above the law of the United States. Today, we're going to take a closer look at the tragic crime, the twisted man who did it, and exactly what happens when you go to court using one of the most insane defenses in legal history. If you want to see an uncut and extended version of this video that's over 3.5 hours long, go to patreon.com/traplawross. Also, you can now watch my new drops on Spotify, so go search me there. Here's the video. This story takes place in Waukesha, a western suburb of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. With a population of around 70,000, this is considered a small city and is the 7th most populous in the state of Wisconsin. Not a very diverse city. 4 out of 5 of Waukesha's residents are white, and as far as employment in the city, the biggest employers are in healthcare, education, civil service, or the energy sectors. It's arguably a fairly uneventful and wholesome city. It's not particularly dangerous. The crime rate there is close to the American average, meaning that your chance of becoming a victim of crime in Waukesha is 1 in 92. But that's not to say that there haven't been dark tragedies there. In 2014, an incident that went on to be known as the Slender Man stabbing saw 2 12-year-olds lure another girl into the woods, stabbing her 19 times in an apparent attempt to appease the fictional internet horror character the Slender Man. With that being one of the most notable crimes in Waukesha history, overall, it's a fairly quaint city with a wholesome vibe. Good people doing good things, like Monday night movies in the park, jazz bands and music nights, and even fun runs with the local police department, and of course, the annual Christmas parade that takes place yearly downtown. This had been enjoyed by residents for decades. Vince Condella documented the wholesome vibes of the 2009 parade in a video on his YouTube channel.
You gotta watch yourself so you don't get poked there, huh?
That's right.
Rudy, you're looking good, bud.
Once the parade began, my job was easy. I get to wave, smile, and ride in the back of a cool car. Thanks to the great people of Waukesha for a wonderful parade.
A YouTuber named Ralph Powers would document the 2011 parade in a grainy video on his channel too.
Merry Christmas, home ladies, gentlemen. You get to get hot in here.
Ralph would be a frequent visitor to the parade, making a much more watchable vlog during his visit in 2019 that captured the vibes. Unfortunately, the 2020 parade was cancelled due to the global pandemic, with the news playfully claiming that the COVID Grinch had stolen the city's Christmas parade that year, and announcing that the 58th parade would be moved to 2021 and would still go ahead on November the 21st the following year. But unfortunately, nobody could have prepared for just how tragic the following year's events would be. The theme of the 2021 Waukesha Christmas Parade was comfort and joy. The event would commence on November the 21st, 2021, and it would be live streamed for those who couldn't go, and attendees would live stream the early events, typical of the Christmas parades of previous years. However, at some point during this live stream, something strange would happen, as a red SUV would seemingly speed past the crowd, being followed by a police car. The car was a red 2010 Ford Escape SUV, and at around 4:39 p.m, this car would smash through the barriers around the parade, travelling at around 40 miles per hour. A police officer attempted to get the driver to stop by banging on the hood of the SUV with no effect. Witnesses described the driver as calm and composed as they began to drive at people involved in the parade. One viral video would circulate showing the car driving towards the crowds at speed, narrowly missing a small child. Another clip shown on the news would show the car continuing to speed into the crowd, along with audio of calls to the police about this dangerous driver.
Maroon Ford Escape just blew by White Rock and Hartwell heading into the parade route. My Escape, black male, I couldn't stop it. He's going westbound, blowing his horn.
Man in Barstow, man in Gaspar.
We have multiple casualties. Man in Gaspar, we need multiple 1052s.
Someone live streaming this would then pan the camera around to reveal the SUV plowing into the crowd at speed as people screamed. An amateur video from a high vantage point would capture the chilling moment when the red SUV plowed into the marching band and packed crowd. The car is then seen briefly in the back of another video filmed amongst a packed crowd, as the driver was apparently using a zigzag pattern to hit as many people as possible. After this, a man named Jordan Woynilko, who had just stepped out of a bar on Main Street facing the parade route, begun filming the devastation that was left following the attack. Bodies were laid out in the street as panicked members of the public and law enforcement frantically tried to provide first aid and get things under control.
You okay? You good?
No, that's cool. It was a red Jeep too, a red SUV.
That they hit, like when they were driving, there was old people that were in front of them.
Really? They were in the parade? I mean,
Yeah, it was old ladies. The last people to walk past, like the last, people on the parade, it was like, it sounded like the dancing ladies or something.
Oh.
It was like old ladies dancing.
Oh
and
my
they
God.
just plowed through, like probably like 60-year-old women.
it was the end of the parade, and they came up from at the end of it,
I don't know if it was
like
the end or if those are the last people that I saw that were like part of the parade.
Okay. Because I mean, like, how would he even get in the parade? You know, if he was there?
Yeah,
I don't
maybe
know.
that was
Meanwhile, the ramming rampage continued, and one amateur video would capture the SUV plowing forward just moments before a senior citizen dance group called the Dancing Grannies was struck en masse, and another angle seemingly after this showed the car plowing at an alarming speed into a large group of female dancers waving pom-poms. Another officer even opened fire in an attempt to stop the car as it broke through more barriers, but this was also unsuccessful. Jodie Singh-Sim and her teenage son were interviewed by Reuters News and would give a moving account as well as sharing clips captured from the scene in the immediate aftermath of the attack.
As I looked over, I started to hear a lot of screaming and just saw a red SUV coming towards us. So all I could think of was to get my family back. And as we were getting back, I heard and saw the people being hit, but what you could do more than seeing is hearing, and just that sound was insane. So we got back towards the building we were standing in front of, and as he went by, it was like everybody keeps saying it was just kind of slow motion.
Somebody literally drove by right in front of us, hit a whole crowd of kids.
Just people?
Yeah, there was kids involved.
Okay.
My mom was trying to help one of them. One of the kids was turning purple and there's blood everywhere.
A man would describe seeing the car plow through the parade and his daughter's marching band.
Yeah, we were in front of All Out Chocolat. We were just watching the parade. We had my sister-in-laws in it. We knew a lot of people. Mainly there to see my daughter who was in the South band, and we just were standing there when he turned off a bar straw under the street, and we were the first the first group of people that he hit was right in front of us, and people were just in shock and screaming and in terror as he just drove down the street with no intent to stop.
So your daughter, tell me that again, your daughter was in the...
Yeah, she was marching in the band.
What band?
South. Waukesha South High School marching band, yeah.
And you saw him hit your daughter's band? Or?
Yeah, he drove right through the band. There were like 8 people that got hit in the band.
What's their condition?
They're all fine. He didn't kill anybody in our group, fortunately, but I mean, it's the best of the worst, right? So
a Fox 6 News report would share that the car was later found wrecked, showing a picture of it.
The car was later found not far away, abandoned in a backyard off of Maple.
A breakdown of this series of deadly events would later circulate in the media, and tragically, 5 people were confirmed dead immediately after the ramming. 52-year-old Tamara Durand, 81-year-old Wilhelm Hospel, 52-year-old Jane Kulik, 71-year-old Leanna Lee Owen, 79-year-old Virginia Ginny Sorensen. 4 were members of the Milwaukee Dancing Grannies, a wholesome dance group composed solely of grandmothers. The group would release a status update on Facebook after the incident, mourning the loss of their members. They would be profiled on a CNN news piece with their affiliate channel WDJT that released after the murders took place, and showed an interview with 2 of the victims before they passed away.
We all truly, I think, love each other too. We're like sisters.
I love it, and I love the ladies, and they're my family. They're my friends.
Can you keep up, Lee? Can you keep up with the group?
Oh, you bet I can. Yeah. I'm encouraging them. Come on, come on. It was a jazzercise group, and the women wanted a little more, so somehow they got into this.
You're all in sync. I told you, just like the Rockettes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
She's like the heart and soul, honest to God.
The group would comment on the tragic loss on TMJ4 News, who had been covering the group for years before this happened.
The Milwaukee Dancing Grannies was founded nearly 4 decades ago. Here's some file video of the group when we covered a story about them 5 years ago. The Milwaukee Dancing Grannies say their group was doing what they love to do most, performing in front of a parade crowd and putting smiles on faces of all ages until the unimaginable happened. 4 of their members were struck by the SUV and died from their injuries. This is a group that typically performs in about 25 parades each year. The only requirement to join is you have to be a grandmother. The group's former director tells me their volunteer who died, Wilhelm, helped keep the team hydrated and often carried their banner in parades. The Milwaukee Dancing Grannies posted on their Facebook page today. It reads in part, "Those who died were extremely passionate grannies. Their eyes gleamed joy of being a granny. They were the glue that held us together. Our hearts are heavy at this most difficult time."
When the dust settled, in addition to those 5 people losing their lives at the scene, 48 others were reported injured right after the incident. 16 of those reported injured initially were children who were treated at the Wisconsin Children's Hospital, and 3 remained in hospital at Children's Wisconsin for an extended period. And one 8-year-old named Jordan Sparks unfortunately lost their life, with the death toll being increased to 6 2 days later. In the end, the toll of the injured rose to 62, with 6 people losing their lives. And as the dust settled on this senseless and brutal attack, the big question that was on the minds of Waukesha residents was who was the heartless monster that would do such a thing to such a wholesome and innocent group of people. Unfortunately, it would take less than a day for the authorities to identify that monster as Darrell Brooks. Darrell Brooks was a peculiar figure. As we later learned through his behavior in the trial, he was clearly a very disturbed and angry man, but beneath the surface is someone very confused and desperate to be accepted and adored, with a peculiar way of thinking about the world. Over the years, Brooks was apparently an active Facebook user, publicly expressing viewpoints reflecting the ideology of the Black Hebrew Israelites, more specifically, conspiratorial Black nationalist and anti-Semitic beliefs, not a far cry from some of the ideologies Kanye West has been expressing in recent years. Speaking of mentally unstable rappers, Darrell Brooks himself was actually a rapper too, releasing music under the name Math Boy Fly. On July the 10th, 2018, he releases the Math Boy Fly music video for the track Fly Stuff. The lyrics were all about selling drugs and killing ops, but people weren't really buying his persona, and the comments are now roasting him hard. This guy has a real way with words. He'd make a good lawyer. He's about as good a rapper as he is a driver. For the first time in his life, he's gonna know what real bars are. Man, if you ain't made it by 39, well, you do the math. In the video, he wears a red blood bandana, and some allege that he may have actually been a member of the Blood Gang. In fact, a recent, very low-quality video popped up online showing Darrell Brooks before the parade getting beat during a friendly fade with a fellow Blood Gang member. According to the caption, he got whooped and made excuses like a narcissist usually would. But despite brutally losing squabbles to the set, on the microphone, Brooks was really a blood. He wouldn't just rock red outfits, but he'd also show off his red car, the very same Ford Escape that was used in the attack years later. This would end up being one of the many smoking guns that would seal Darrell's fate later at trial, but there would be so much evidence against him eventually, posing in a rap video with the murder vehicle was barely even necessary to render him totally cooked. But despite rapping on songs about shootings and drug dealing with his blood gang criminal persona, even before the despicable acts at the Christmas parade, most of Darrell's actual criminal past victimized the most vulnerable of society, women and children. Darrell Brooks has an extensive history with the law and an entire library of mugshots built up over years as an interstate criminal. Brooks's criminal record stretched back to 1999 when he was just 17, getting charged with substantial battery in Milwaukee County. In September of 2000, he gets 3 years probation after pleading guilty to the battery case and spends 6 months in a correctional dormitory. From 2002 to 3, he's charged with drug possession and obstruction in Milwaukee County and sentenced to 70 more days in the House of Corrections. Brooks then had more criminal charges for obstruction in Manitowoc, Wisconsin in 2005, failing to appear in court with a judge issuing a warrant. In November 2006, 15 years before the attack, Brooks pled guilty to felony statutory seduction after impregnating a 15-year-old girl in Sparks, Nevada. Pleading guilty in March 2007, Brooks was sentenced to 12 to 36 months at Waukesha County Jail in Reno. Now clearly, a man suffering some personal demons, we would actually get an insight into exactly what might have influenced Darrell to live outside the confines of the law, and apparently, a big part of this was meth. While inside, Brooks was bizarrely interviewed for a documentary about methamphetamine addiction called Crystal Darkness, where he explained how the drug completely takes over your body when you're on it, and that he'd felt he'd let his children down with his drug use and criminal behavior. But despite his convictions, Brooks later defended his actions, openly admitting what he did in a video he himself made where he denied being a PDF file.
All out all of a sudden now let me explain that. 10 years ago, 2006, I caught a case with my oldest daughter's mama. Yes, my baby mama. She's from Oakland. I was busting moves in Nevada. I meet the bitch. She says she want to get down, so I'm on the bitch. I'll take her to Nevada. You know what I'm saying? I get cracked. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know the bitch was 16 at the time. She gave a statement to the police and told them, yeah, she was that I was and that she was 16 and that I didn't know that. Okay.
He was released in September 2008, and he would return to Wisconsin Rapids, where he'd get another criminal charge. In August 2009, pleading no contest and being found guilty to a 2005 obstruction case, only getting sentenced to 2 days, which was considered as time served, and the following year being charged with strangulation, battery, and criminal damage to property after a woman told police that he shoved her to the ground during an argument and grabbed her throat, eventually pleading no contest to the strangulation charge and having the other charges dropped as part of a plea agreement, landing him 90 days in jail with work release and 3 years probation. Brooks continues this pattern of criminality as the years go on, catching numerous petty charges like resisting an officer and trying to flee when he was stopped for not wearing a seatbelt. This violates his probation from the strangulation case, triggering 11 months in jail plus 37 days for the new resisting charge. Bear in mind, Brooks is now a registered S offender and gets in trouble for using a false address on his registration, and he's eventually arrested for failing to obey the S offender laws and not complying with the registry since 2008. By the time of the vehicle attack in 2016, Brooks actually still had an outstanding warrant for allegedly committing a statutory S act in Sparks, Nevada in 2016, and he had apparently moved back to Wisconsin from Nevada and failed to register properly there. Despite this, or perhaps because of his refusal to participate in the program, it seemed that Brooks was still able to juggle romantic relationships and baby mamas in the years leading up to the deadly incident. By the time of his arrest for the 6 murders, he would have fathered a total of 3 children with 3 different women.
How old are your kids? My son is grown. My oldest daughter is 14, and my youngest daughter is 7.
You said your oldest son's grown. How old is he?
He's 18.
They all live with you then in Milwaukee?
Well, my son doesn't.
Your son doesn't?
My son doesn't.
Okay. Have you ever been married?
No.
3 baby mamas or 2?
3.
3? Are they all whack? Or just one?
No, my son's mama is, like, she's from out this way. She's from New Berlin. Grew up in New Berlin out here. Sweetheart.
Okay.
Works, takes care of home, sweetheart. And her second son is autistic. So she's really, really, really hands-on mom. No issues with her at all. Erica's the only one that I have problems with. Even my youngest daughter's mom works, comes home. We don't fight. We don't argue. We co-parent. I have my daughter most of the time. and she's okay with it.
Brooks wasn't just a danger to minors and the community, but he posed a particular danger to his family and romantic partners. On July the 24th, 2020, Brooks was charged with second-degree recklessly endangering safety and felon in possession of a firearm after he allegedly shot at his nephew and a friend after a fight over a cell phone. Brooks is given a hell of a break in this, initially being set a bond of $15,000, which his defense argued should be as low as $500, and ultimately bartering it down to $10K, and he gets out again. He agrees to a speedy trial, and his bond is lowered even lower to $7,500. And then that trial cannot proceed due to another trial going on, and his case is postponed, and the judge in the end agrees to allow him out on a measly $500 bond. Now, I say all this to make it clear that the Waukesha County courts made a huge blunder in letting this guy out for so cheap. The prosecutors tried to find him in contempt of court for violation of a court order in his child support case, and Brooks gets 120 days in jail with work release privileges. But within just 2 months, only 5 months and 5 weeks before the Christmas parade incident, on May the 27th, 2021, he was arrested for domestic violence after a witness told police that he confronted Brooks after hearing him beating up his ex-girlfriend on the other side of a wall in a hotel room. Apparently during an argument, Brooks flashed a firearm. The cops would come, and Brooks would spend the rest of the day behind bars at the East Point Law Enforcement Center in East Point. He would appear in court the following day, receiving a signature bond with a court date set for October, which he duly misses, getting right back into the streets and continuing to be a menace. With all this going on in June, he appears for a jury trial for the 2020 shooting case, but the trial is postponed due to other cases having priority in court. Only 3 weeks before the incident on November the 2nd, he'd been arrested for hitting his ex-girlfriend and ramming her with the same vehicle during a domestic dispute at a Milwaukee gas station. He'd been charged with a hefty rap sheet of second-degree recklessly endangering safety with domestic abuse assessments, felony, as well as disorderly conduct with domestic abuse assessments, misdemeanor battery with domestic abuse assessments, and obstructing an officer. He calls his mother from jail, inferring that the case won't proceed if the victim refuses to cooperate, and the next day, he calls her to try and get her to withdraw her statement. After being formally charged, he was able to post a jaw-dropping $1,000 bail just 2 days before the attack, with reports later suggesting that his bail was inappropriately low, suggesting that this dangerous man should not have been on the streets. Regardless, Brooks was allowed out of the county jail on the assault and then taken back in for not paying child support, and insanely, he was able to argue against prosecutors who wanted to keep him in jail on skipping child support, successfully arguing that he couldn't pay because he said he was locked up in Georgia on the other case, with no one checking online court records that proved that this was a lie. So he's let out, and on the very day of the Waukesha Christmas parade, Darrell was involved in another domestic disturbance. According to a news report that played a call to the police just 1 minute before the attack, there was a report of a fight in the nearby Frame Park.
About 30 minutes after the parade started, calls started to come in about something happening near Frame Park.
There's 2 citizens with me on Hartwell and White Rock saying that there's a fight in progress, and one of the squads go meet with where the subjects are that are claiming that this fight happened.
It seems that right before he snapped, he'd had some kind of argument or altercation with a woman and had flown off the handle and decided at this point to snap and go on a rampage. As you already know, the terrible events that took place that day when Darrell Brooks decided to do one of the most selfish things a man could possibly do. Now let's take a closer look at the immediate aftermath of the incident and what ended up getting him caught. The Waukesha police would give an update on the case to the news in a press conference following the incident, announcing an unnamed person of interest was already in custody.
The Waukesha Christmas parade was taking place when a red SUV drove through the barricades westbound, heading down Main Street. The vehicle struck more than 20 individuals. Some of the individuals were children, and there were some fatalities as a result of this incident. We will not be releasing information on fatalities at this time while we are working on notifying the family members of the deceased. We're no longer looking for a suspect vehicle. We do have a person of interest in custody at the moment, but this is still a very fluid investigation.
Even the president at the time, Joe Biden, would comment on the tragedy, so you know that the authorities would be taking it seriously.
That 5 families in Waukesha are facing fresh grief of a life without a loved one.
But as the dust settled on the despicable rampage that took 6 people's lives, the same day of the attack, the police would recover the damaged red Ford Escape. It turned out that Brooks dumped the car, and court would later see footage of Brooks moving around on foot after the attack and crashing his SUV. One video showed him running into someone's yard from sirens, with his hands on his head, looking distressed.
Excuse me.
He would be recorded on a Ring doorbell attempting to get help from a resident and claiming to have called an Uber and asking for help finding it. The resident had no idea about the attack that had just happened. The kind-hearted soul even went as far as to allow Brooks into his home, giving him a sandwich and allowing him to borrow a jacket. However, the niceties didn't last long, and the police would eventually arrive to arrest 39-year-old Darrell Brooks, with the cops catching him on the stoop and arresting him on site.
Hey, I called an Uber, and I'm supposed to be waiting for it over here, but I don't know when it's coming. Can you call it for me, please?
Finally, after years of chaos, which reached heights unimaginable, Waukesha police finally got Darrell Brooks off the streets, but it was far too late. 2 days after the incident, the number of injured was counted at 62 and the dead at 6. Vigils would be held across the city on November the 22nd.
Hundreds showed up tonight for a candlelight vigil for those killed and injured in Waukesha, Wisconsin.
People here wanted to keep that focus on the lives that were lost and also those dozens who were hurt, some of them tonight being remembered through tears.
Killing 5 and injuring 48, including 18 children.
39-year-old Darrell Brooks of Milwaukee ran over marchers and watchers. And to think what caused each dent in that metal is enough to break this city's heart.
No brake lights, no stopping, just plowing through people.
That guy was evil. Brooks had a decades-long criminal record that includes arrests for drugs, battery, and domestic abuse.
Tonight, we mourn and grieve with you.
When tragedy struck this great city, the community responded.
Candlelight flickered across Cutler Park during an interfaith prayer vigil to remember the innocent killed and the many still fighting to live.
We grieve together right now, and we will heal together moving forward.
Waukesha looking for strength and resilience as a long road ahead begins.
As we move forward, may we all serve towards the betterment of our world.
Tonight, we are all Waukesha.
The Dancing Grannies would make a harrowing public appearance after the loss of 4 of their members. The week after the attacks, the city observed a moment of silence, and First Lady Jill Biden would meet with victims' family members and attended a memorial to the victims on December the 15th.
The First Lady and Second Gentleman arrived in silence, laying flowers as a sign of their solemn grief for the families of 6 people killed in this city's Christmas parade.
I'm never going to forget the people I just met, the stories that I just heard, and the strength that I witnessed today.
After meeting privately with 4 families who will now spend Christmas without someone they love, the sense of loss seemed overwhelming to both Dr. Biden and Doug M. Hoff.
Ultimately, the cops had their man, but little did they know how easy this case would be to put together. The day after the incident, Brooks would be interrogated by the FBI. Brooks would subsequently be interviewed by local police detectives, and clearly he was worried about the charges he was facing, initially asking them repeatedly if he was facing something serious.
Come on, Ben, you've been straight up with me the whole time, man. Am I looking at something serious, man?
We're gonna talk about it here. I don't know what your definition of serious is. You know what I mean? Like, you've been through the system before.
Yeah, I haven't talked to anybody. I haven't been able to make one call, get any Tylenol from I haven't slept.
He would complain at the start that he had a serious shoulder injury from the arrest, but as things went on, he gets more animated and it becomes clear that this is a lie.
How's it? You okay?
No.
No!
It hurts bad.
Your shoulder?
Bad.
Well, it's gonna be sore, man.
Yeah.
But at least you know nothing's broken, right?
Yeah.
Good.
So they say.
Well, they
definitely might be torn. It hurts so bad I'm getting teary-eyed, dude. Like, seriously, I know something is wrong.
The detectives would try to disarm him with deflection about his baby mother, saying that she's crazy, to make Darrell think that this was about her rather than something more serious.
Your girl's crazy, right? Yeah.
So y'all talked to her?
Yeah, we'll talk about it. I did not, but yeah, someone did. Darrell, what's your middle name?
That girl is a nutcase. That's my daughter's mama, though. I love her.
Gotcha.
I love her to death, man.
We all got somebody. You're not married. What's your girlfriend's name?
Erica Patterson.
She was just being strange, you know.
Which she is because she drinks.
She's a nut. You said she's
She
a
drinks.
nut. You said she drank.
When she does that,
The cops would confront him about an apparent altercation between the two, with Brooks claiming that she tends to get drunk and cause drama.
We got a report about an altercation between the two of you. Okay. All right. But they couldn't find her for hours. That's part of the reason I didn't know anything for hours. You kept asking, right? This.
Oh, that's what it was.
So they couldn't find her for hours, and I had to kind of stick with and hang out with you, and then I'm just, guys are looking for her, and finally they find her and they talk to her, and it seems to me, based on their conversation, where they're at, she could be a little out there. We don't know how women can be, right? Have you ever been married?
No. She's a sweetheart until she gets that alcohol.
The alcohol's the problem.
Then you all type of, I have somebody touch you, and I'm gonna keep my daughter away from you, and I'm gonna make sure you never see her again, and you talk to every time your phone ring, I'll hit you upside your head with this pan. Even my mom doesn't even like her around when she's drinking.
So that's kind of where I'm going with it. I've never been with anyone that is as bad as what you're saying right there, but I think he can attest to it. We've all been.
Ben probably looked like he didn't do it with some chicks, man.
We know some of the crazy things they'll say sometimes.
Brooks would continue to ask frantically what he's being charged with as the cops distract him, making out the whole thing is to do with the case with his woman, with Brooks boldly saying that his partner should be charged for lying on him.
Only thing I want to know is, what in the heck am I being charged with anything?
Well, she's making some, like I said, alleged allegations against you, kind of, for being physical. So that's what, if that's BS, that's what I'm looking to hear from you. Okay?
Total BS.
You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of, we couldn't track her down, so that's kind of where we're at. It's this typical back and forth stuff that guys like you go through with their baby mama all the time. And they're all, there's a lot of guys out there in your spot, and a lot of times, maybe it's not always fair to them, but that's kind of what
I wish they had a law to where people, if you do that, you should get in trouble.
Sure. That's why we're sitting in here with you to try to sift through the BS, if that's what we got, and just go from there.
Man.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
Girl, man. I said this last night too, didn't I? She gets drunk and remember I kept saying that she acts a fool and I'm the one that pays for it.
Yep.
Investigators would go on to ask Brooks what he was doing in Waukesha, with Brooks claiming that he was there to watch the Packers game with friends and claiming that he was dropped off and had met his ex at a gas station.
I was meeting up with a friend to watch the Packer game.
Okay.
That's the only reason why I was out here.
Where did you go to watch the game?
To a friend named Stephanie. A few friends. I have a few friends in Milwaukee that have people out here, so.
Okay.
My friend. I went with my friend.
Okay, who's that?
My friend, I don't really want to say his name. I don't know if that's going to incriminate him in anything. So.
Okay, so let's go with this. How did you come? I know you saw Erica yesterday in Waukesha because we talked to her. Now, I don't know everything that went on, and I'm not saying I believe everything she told the other officers. How did you come to meet with her in Waukesha, one? And two, you say you don't know Waukesha, but where did you meet her? A gas station, a park? I know you met her. Where did you meet her? What happened yesterday?
Yeah,
because if this is BS, like you say, and I know you met her, what happened?
I met her.
What happened when you met her? Where did you meet her? Let's start with that.
By a gas station.
Okay.
They continue to ask about the argument that took place before the murders, with Brooks downplaying things, suggesting that she was mad and he didn't want to hang out, and that they simply walked away from each other.
With her end.
With me walking off, and her being pissed off that I didn't want to hang out with her. I said, look, I'm not supposed to be around you, I'm gone.
Okay.
The investigators begun to ask prodding questions about Brooks's vehicle, inquiring whose car he used to get to Waukesha, with Brooks sidestepping and saying his unnamed friend gave him a ride.
When she said, she said I didn't have a car.
No, whose car did you use to get to Waukesha?
My friend is the one that said he was gonna go hang out and watch the Packer game. I said I'm gonna go with.
Okay. Whose car did you use to get out to Waukesha?
I didn't use anybody's car.
Where does your friend live?
My friend lives in Milwaukee.
So You didn't walk to Waukesha. Whose car did you guys use?
My friend. I just said my friend.
What type of car did you have?
I'm
just trying to figure out how you got here.
Yeah, I know, but it seemed like you trying to like spin me up or something. Like
I'm just asking how you got here. Whose car did you drive out here?
I didn't drive at all.
Whose car did you come out here in?
My friend.
Clearly, Brooks was having a hard time sidestepping questions about the car, and no doubt he had an inkling all these questions about the car had something to do with the gruesome vehicle attacks that he'd committed. At this point, the investigators try to make this about the woman again and say that they're stepping out and that they don't want Brooks to be nervous, with Brooks immediately being suspicious about them leaving in the middle of the conversation on the topic of the car, with Brooks pleading with them to stay and tell him specifically what he's charged with.
Trying to figure out how you got out here. So I got to step out with my partner for a minute. Just relax. I want you to get you all nervous, okay? But, you know, I'm not trying to be confrontational, but I don't think when you meet her out in Waukesha and you're not from Waukesha, I think a reasonable question is to ask, how did you get out here?
Yeah.
Whether you drove, someone else drove, and if so, when you got out here, what type of car you were in? So just every hour or so, my boss, he knows we're out here. I just got to call him and say, yeah, we're talking. I'll call you back later. Just got to step out, throw in a line with him, and we'll come back. Just chill out here, enjoy your soda. We'll be right back. All right? Sound good?
So we done talking or?
No,
We'll come back and talk
just
to
chill
you.
out, and we'll be back.
We just gotta make that
back in that, so I just got to make that call.
That check-in call.
All right?
In the middle of the conversation?
Well, do you want to tell me about the car?
We'll just go another couple minutes.
Yeah, but I mean,
I got to call him. I can come back, but I just...
Listen, I'm willing to, listen, Carpenter, you've been straight up with me, right? Mm-hmm. All I'm saying is I just want to know what I'm looking at and if I can just notify my girls. That's it. I don't have a problem with talking to you guys at all. I just want to know what am I looking at. That's
told
it.
you at the start, she called about some domestic abuse-related stuff.
The investigators took an interesting approach, never admitting to the severity of the charges and keeping the focus on the domestic dispute, but continuing to ask about the car that he used to get to Waukesha.
Two, how did you get out here? What car did you come out? What car did you come out here?
Our job is detail-oriented. You know, a lot of people think our job is to like get people in trouble. Our job is
No, I understand that. It's just hard to be like when you go through this and you don't even know. Like I haven't even been able to talk to my girls and be like, yo, I'm okay.
Have you?
You know what I'm saying? Like this,
you've been through this
in a situation like this, and yeah, but I've been able to call somebody too.
You've been,
you know what I mean?
Brooks is very good at deflecting and seems to know that the one thing he can't do is give details about the car, so he continues to talk around in circles and tease the investigators like he's just about to tell them the info they want before pulling back.
Having contact with her, but I'm not.
Why do you say that?
Well, because of how she acts. She's like, it's almost like she forces me to be with her. Mm-hmm. It's almost like I'm forced. It's either you're not, I'm gonna take you out of your kid's life. You're not, I'm gonna keep your kid away from you. If you're talking to females, I'm gonna, it's almost like she makes me play by her rules. And if I don't, she has me by the because she know I'm already going through stuff as it is, and I'm like, why would you do?
Brooks later goes on a rambling rant about how his race makes him not get a fair shake when it comes to the justice system in America, and downplaying the litany of charges that he'd racked up over the last decade.
Being black is harder to, not, and I'm not saying you guys, but majority of the time, you're kind of looked at as a troublemaker, or, even if you have a record that like I said before all this stuff, I have been in trouble in a decade.
Okay.
A decade. That was 2011, and that was for weed. So it wasn't like I was just running around and just doing all this stuff. Like,
after quite a lot of rambling and discussion of his ex, the investigators bring the topic back to the argument, and Brooke admits to seeing a lot of people outside and barricades for the Christmas parade.
TD Quarter gas station. I think this street is like a one-way.
Anything you remember like that? Trails?
I know that park. I know that park is by old girl's house.
By whose house? Stephanie?
Yeah.
Park. What?
I don't know the name of the park, but it has like a little creek or something. It was something going on out there yesterday to where a lot of was blocked off.
Okay.
I don't, like I said, I don't know about Waukesha, I don't know. But it seemed like everybody was at that park kind of walking around that creek.
Like a playground type park, or like a...
They're like in that area. In that area, it looked like a bunch of was like blocked. You couldn't go down certain streets or something. I don't know, but that park is close to the old girl's house.
Brooks is trying to play it cool, but at the same time incriminating himself by admitting that he was in the area where the event was going on. But he probably thinks he's being slick by acting like he didn't know the specifics of the event or his role in the tragedy that took place. He continues to direct the conversation to the domestic disturbance, but when that begins to get tired, he tries to throw the detectives off by saying that he got into Waukesha in his friend's car and then claims it was a tan-colored Kia.
How did you get out here again?
My friend.
What type of car does he drive?
Oh, man. It's like a Kia type of car. I don't know if it's a Kia, but it's a small four-door car like that, in that type of model.
Okay. What color is it?
Like tan.
And was it just the two of you that rolled out together? Did anyone roll out from Milwaukee with you?
No, it was just us two.
Two of us?
He said he probably was going to be some chicks over there. You know, like I said, the Stephanie girl is an older woman. She, you know, likes to party, drink, you know, watch the game. She cooks.
Sure.
Cool. Let's watch the game. I was only going to probably go to my mom's house and watch the game there, and my mom has to go to work. So I was just going to be sitting there like this. It might as well go, you know what I'm saying?
Now with this new false info, the investigators dig deeper, asking why Darrell didn't drive himself, with him claiming not to have a car or access to any others.
How did you guys come?
I don't own a vehicle.
Don't own a vehicle?
Nope.
Do you have any car you can drive at all?
No. I have license.
So you have a...
I do have license, but no vehicle.
Don't ever use your niece's, nephew's, mom's car or anything like that?
My nephew doesn't have a vehicle. My niece is 14.
Mm-hmm.
What about your mom?
No, my mom doesn't even know how to drive.
She doesn't have a car, doesn't know how to drive?
She doesn't know how to drive.
Does
she never learned.
Okay. Does she have a car that she lets you use at all?
No.
Does she have a car at all? Maybe not that she lets you use.
No.
Does she have a car in her name at all?
I think she did at one point.
Does she right now?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say no because I don't know. I honestly don't know. Me and my mom we was kind of having family issues for a while, so we didn't talk for a while. Issues that didn't have nothing to do with this. It was between me and her.
It's interesting how Darrell can not be direct about so many things, but when it comes to whether or not he has access to a car, it's an immediate no. As the rambling conversation goes on, things heat up and investigators point out inconsistencies in the story, specifically regarding how Brooks had gotten around town, specifically asking how he ended up on the stoop where they arrested him, asking to use a resident's phone, with Brooks rambling and deflecting.
Which is blocks away from Stephanie's. Okay, I can tell you that based on my knowledge of the city, based on approximately where you're telling me it is, without your phone and your shoes. You understand where that's kind of weird? How did you get to be over there? What happened?
Yeah, but what basically happened with that was when I got back over there by old girl house, I just said, because I don't really know Stephanie like that. It's my friend's friend or partner or whatever the case may be. They was getting into it about pretty much the same thing that I was getting into it with Erica about. I was just like, him.
Who's him?
Marcus. Him, her, and whoever else, Stephanie.
Was there anyone else there other than...
Yeah, at her house, yeah.
Okay.
A few girls that I didn't know, but they had already said it was going to be people over there.
Okay. All right, so...
I was, because I feel like I just met up with her, with my baby's mama. I just met up with her for absolutely nothing. So you tell me, okay, you out here in Waukesha, I'm out here, let's meet up, I got your money, and then I walk over there and you don't have the money. Or you do or you don't, you just ain't gonna give it to me, however the case may be. So I'm just like, okay, whatever.
Well, hold on.
When I get back over there, they was getting into it, and he like, man, come on, bro, we just finna go. And I'm like, what the f going on? Like, I just got into it with it. Now y'all into it. He like, man, this tripping. Whatever, let's go. I'm like, nah. Nah.
At this point, investigators tell Brooks his story makes no sense, and there's no reason he'd end up at a random house with no phone or shoes after calling an Uber, with Brooks suggesting that he had flip-flops on that disappeared when he got arrested, and that he had a phone that was dead and that also disappeared.
Listen to me, okay? Just listen to me. You go to this house. You leave. That wind was cold as hell.
Not at first.
Well, by the time it was getting later in the day, I mean, after the Packer game, you're talking 3:30, 4 o'clock, it was getting cold. I was outside for a while.
Yeah, about like 3:30, yeah.
By the time you're talking, it was getting cold. All right. Marcus is ready to leave because it's being crazy. He's like, I'm out. You just went through the same experience from what you're telling us. You live in Milwaukee.
I don't know what exactly happened with him, though.
I mean, I told you about me. Lay it out. I know you don't know exactly what happened. But who are you going to trust more? Marcus, who you've known for years, or Stephanie? Why would you walk away, walk all the way down to where you did, leave your phone in the apartment, apparently?
No, I didn't.
Along with your sandals,
I didn't leave.
and go down to where you were and not take the ride back to Milwaukee. You follow what I'm saying?
Right.
Can you understand?
I don't know if he left and went back to Milwaukee, though. I don't know if he did that.
But how are you going to get back if you don't get in the car?
I called an Uber. That's what I did.
So what happened? How did you get all the way to where you went? Because there's all these businesses in between where you were and where you got to. How did you end up at a random house without your shoes and your phone, Darrell?
This is what I'm saying. I had my flip-flops on. I had them.
Okay.
I just said that.
Where did they go?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if when they slammed me down, they just never, I don't know. Okay. That's what I'm saying. I wasn't just walking around with no shoes. That didn't happen until after the fact. That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
so I guess another question I would have for you is if you had your phone too, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't leave it at the apartment.
No. That's why I was telling you it should have been on the grass. Remember, I described the phone to you. I said it's black. It has a cracked screen.
Yep. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Why are you asking other people to use their phones? Why is that guy letting
My phone was dead.
Okay. When did it die?
I have no idea. And I didn't have a charger.
But you used it for the three-way call.
And I used his phone for the three-way call.
This interrogation begins to get exhausting, and soon the cops drop a bombshell, asking Darrell why he was found with the key to a Ford Escape used in the attack, with Brooks saying that it was on the ground and isn't his, but investigators revealing that it's connected to the car, which is registered to his mother.
You don't have a car, so Marcus had to bring you out. You don't own a car, your mom doesn't own a car, right? So Marcus had to bring you out. So why did we find you with a car key in your pocket?
It wasn't in my pocket. I don't even know where they said that was laying on the ground.
That's yours.
Yeah. It should have been by my ID.
Yeah, it's yours. It's your car key, okay? Because it goes to a Ford Escape in your mom's name covered in Waukesha. Okay. Listen, Darrell. I'm trying to be as open and honest with you as I can be. You know, I'm Christian too, and believe me, I'm not perfect. And neither are you. And I'm not calling you a terrible man. I'm not saying you were out yesterday hunting, and just let me finish. But you did not walk to that house. You did not walk to that house. You did not come here in a tan Kia. You didn't.
And who?
You did not come out here in a tan Kia. Okay? You got a key in your pocket. Car, your mom's name. Okay? And that key works for that car.
Now comes the most dramatic moment, as the investigators drop the facade and try something different, pleading with Brooks to do the right thing and tell them what he was doing in that red car, and admitting that he was seen driving erratically, with Brooks again deflecting and asking what he's charged with.
You know what happened yesterday for the people. Tell me what happened.
With what?
With the car.
What am I being
with your mom's car. You were driving goofy, people called you in, you drove out of there in your mom's car, the red car, you're driving a little silly, probably because you met up with Erica in the car at the park. Now, initially, I believe you told us the gas station. Do I have that right? And then you changed it to the park. So that's an inconsistency.
No, I said the house was by the gas station.
Brooks wasn't having it, and he continues to deflect and focus on irrelevant details, playing dumb, and repeatedly asking what's going on, and why the FBI were there, and what he's charged with.
Out there driving kind of crazy. Some people said you were driving kind of crazy. We got reports of it. You got the key, you got the car. Did you take the car, or did your mom give you the car? I know you know what car I'm talking about.
I just want to know. So,
some people reported, all those people out there, they reported that car driving a bit erratic.
I know what you're saying. All I'm saying is this. We all been straight up with each other. You knew it was more to what you was asking me yesterday.
Didn't know
that would explain the FBI and all that, right?
They're not here today. So if it's that big a deal, you don't see them here today.
Come on, Kurt. Hey, we been.
You guys met in the car in the park.
We been cool, man, the whole time. If I did something wrong,
that's why they were here. But do you see them here today? They're not here today.
Yeah, but y'all lied to me, man. You made it seem like they just come for no reason.
Well, here's the thing, Darrell.
And I'm like, what?
Listen to me for a minute. I can give you a clean slate here.
I apologize.
Because you have lied to us as well. Because you came out here in the red Ford Escape. Okay, that is what you came out here in. You had the key. Alright? So, what I want to do is try to give us all a chance to reset.
The cops continue to plead with him to do the right thing, but Brooks continues to deflect and play up the angle that the cops have betrayed him by not being upfront about the charges.
I don't know what kind of woman she is. I don't know what you all been through. But you were seen in the car driving kind of acting a fool. Okay? In basically the same area that you've already been able to describe to me. I'm just trying to figure out how and why it happened. What made you tear out of there? What made you so mad where you're like, and you raced on out of there? And then people call, man, this guy's, he's driving around here kind of fast.
All I want to know, like I said, y'all been cool with me. Am I charged with anything? That's all I want to know. I'll tell you anything you want to know.
Right now.
Listen, all I was saying was, it just felt like, let's railroad this dude. Because that's how it felt.
Brooks eventually admits that the red car is his mother's car, but he continues to deflect and ask what the charges are.
In the car, is it hers? Is it yours that she lets you use? Let's clean that part up. Whose car is it?
It's my mom's car.
Okay. How often do you drive it?
Not very much.
It's the red Ford Escape?
It's all I want to know. Please. Just please. Whatever you can't tell me, I understand. All I want to know, just so I can have a peace of mind, just for my girls, man. What am I looking at?
Even at this stage, the cops refuse to explain the severity of the situation, minimizing the crimes to just reckless driving and a DUI, and continuing to try and get Brooks to admit he was driving the car, with him continuing to deflect.
He told you yesterday they took the blood.
Oh yeah, I know that.
So I mean,
he was gonna take that anyway.
OWI there.
The OWI.
Got some reckless driving.
Reckless driving?
Yeah, because you kind of accelerated out of there. Why did you tear out of the park so fast?
Reckless driving.
Why'd you tear out of the park so fast?
So, you don't gotta tase me, dude.
Sorry. Just replace it with my hand.
No, I'm just saying. I'm not trying to do nothing crazy
that
here.
Wasn't that.
I did tase before, so when I see that, it's like, whoa, you don't have to do that, man. I already got slammed on my shoulder.
My bad. There was nothing there.
Okay.
That was just me resting my hand.
I'm just saying.
Yep. Nope.
I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to try to run. I'm not going to try to hurt anybody or myself or anything.
That's my bad. There was nothing. There's no message there.
After Brooks tried to redirect the conversation to the cop's taser, the lead investigator walked out, and Brooks continued to ask about the charges and suggests that he will tell him anything if they just tell him what he's charged with.
I don't have a problem with telling you everything you need to know. I just want to know what I'm looking at, just for my kids' sake, so I can just at least...
So we're fact collectors. Like I was telling you before, my job isn't to pin something on you that you didn't do. My job is to figure out what happened, what the truth is. And as he was explaining before, there's, one version, somebody else's version. In the case of the domestic stuff, Erica, what she said to the officers, what you're telling us, and sometimes, most of the time, the truth somewhere in the middle. So our job is to collect all this. At this time, you're not being charged with anything. Nothing's up at the DA's office.
Brooks goes on to talk in circles for some time, suggesting that he just wants to know what his charges are, and then he will explain everything, but really saying nothing useful. The cops bring him food, and the mind games continue.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't want to get railroaded by people not being honest. That's all I'm saying. And if I don't know what I'm looking at, it's like, what the hell? Like, why should I just sit here and be like, oh, this is everything and blah, 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 blah. And then people come back and be like, so now we're going to charge you with this.
This goes on for quite some time, and eventually the investigators relent and reveal some new information, downplaying the situation, but telling Brooks that after he drove away from his girl, some people ended up in the hospital injured.
You got some injuries, right?
Yeah, that was just from people.
No, not you. Not you. From after you drove away, some people had to get checked out at the hospital, and they're all right. They had to get checked out. You know what I'm talking about. They had to get checked out.
What do you mean?
After you left yesterday, after you drove off, okay? You kind of tore out of there and you were upset. There were a lot of, like you said, there were some people around, and a couple injuries to some people's legs. I know you were driving the car.
It's clear that the cops and Darrell know things are serious, and the cops tune in on Darrell's fear that these charges could be very serious, and ask him why he's worried about going away for such a long time.
I feel that way because I already have an open case.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sentenced on that yet. I was supposed to get sentenced on the 11th. My open case was dealing with possession of a firearm.
See, we keep going round and around with this, and that's why I told you, I'm not telling you it's an end of the world thing.
We have to fact check.
If someone got hurt, what would you want because they drove a little reckless, all right, and one of your kids had to get, thank God they were okay, but just had to get checked out by a doctor, but we're okay, what would you at least want him to tell me if he knew something about that?
I guess, like, anybody would want to know what the circumstances.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, anybody would want to know the circumstances.
Ultimately, this plea to humanity went nowhere. Telling Brooks to put himself in the shoes of a parent whose kids got injured wasn't effective, especially when he knows deep down that he's facing serious charges and is focused on self-preservation. Brooks would continue to redirect the conversation to the officers and claim that they were hiding something from him. Officers refused to explain the gravity of the situation, but eventually open up and admit that some people got hurt, with Brooks denying that he'd hurt anybody.
People are saying I'm the cause. Right?
Well, I'm trying to figure that out. Do you think people would be saying that too?
No, they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. I didn't hurt anybody. That was the whole thing. Not my baby's mom. Not anybody else. That wasn't why I was out here.
Strangely, later in the interview, Brooks asks a bizarre and perhaps incriminating question. Where is his mother's car? Finding out that it's in an impound lot and asking when he can get it back, sounding enthusiastic when the officer says that the argument with Erica precipitated the event.
My mom's vehicle. Mm-hmm. Where is it? Is it impounded?
It's in Waukesha.
Will she be able to get it?
Eventually, yeah, she'd be able to get it and release it to her. It's her vehicle. I thought you said she couldn't drive, though.
She can't.
Okay. But she would have somebody to help her.
No, I was just saying, will she be able...
Yeah, she'd be able to get it back eventually, yeah.
Or not even get it back, would she be able to... Well, yeah, I guess get it back.
Mm-hmm.
So is it impounded, or is it evidence? Is it at a tow lot? Is it...
I believe...
I mean, that's not against the investigation to tell me that, is it?
No. It's in Waukesha right now. It's currently in police custody. I don't know if it's at a tow yard in police custody or if it's at...
And they notified her?
Yeah, we've talked to her.
So she shouldn't be able to... It sounds like it's more going on than just me and Erica.
I think it's related to you and Erica. I think Erica precipitated the event.
Absolutely.
Now, it wouldn't surprise me if Brooks didn't really know what the word precipitated means. I think that he thought the cops were saying that Erica participated in the event, and he seems to have the bright idea of pinning this on someone else, as he goes on to seemingly infer that perhaps she was the one responsible driving the car, and saying what if it wasn't him driving, and what if he knew who it was, and if he could tell on them instead.
What if it wasn't me driving?
What if it wasn't you?
What if it was my mom's truck? But I wasn't driving.
Who else would it be?
That's what I'm asking. Not asking you who else would it be, but I'm just asking, what if I knew? Would I be asked to give that information?
Well, like I said, we're here to gather truth. So if somebody else was driving that car, yeah, I would want to know who that car is so we can go talk to that person.
I just don't want to get charged with something that I didn't do. Now, with something that I did do, dead to rights, I'm willing to be like, I did that. I just don't want to be charged with something that I didn't do.
Soon after this, the other cop returns to the room with another bombshell, showing Brooks an image of him driving the red car, which Brooks denies is him. Suddenly, the energy in the room changes and becomes more tense as the investigator begins to show picture after picture of the car at the crime scene, as well as the victims injured at the scene, all while Brooks looks at them in silence.
But you already brought up, too, that if somebody did something, that they should be held accountable for it, and that you're willing to accept responsibility.
What's going on with
if
that?
it's?
Can I show you something?
You look like you gotta film me or something.
No, I'm not filming you. That you? That's you?
Nah, I ain't got no, it look like whoever. It look like Gray.
Right there. You can see your face.
Nah, that's not me.
That's not you.
That's not me.
That's not you.
No, I don't.
Darrell.
That's
Darrell. That's you.
That's you, Darrell.
Why you say it like that, man?
Because we talked about the honesty piece. You keep telling me that you tell the truth when you did do something. You take responsibility when you do something.
There's your mom's car again. There's your mom's car again. Next to a child, which I know you care a lot about, children.
Next to a child? Who's on my
Yeah. It's your mom's car.
Yeah, I was just asking him about my,
That's your mom's car
what's going on with that.
that we took the key from you. So, you can't tell me at this point I'm playing any games anymore, you know?
I didn't say you was playing games from the get-go.
Well, you felt like we were being totally straight.
Last night I felt like
it wasn't as fluid as you wanted.
No, it wasn't the flu. It was just
And it wasn't as much as I wanted either.
I knew that y'all knew more than what y'all was saying, and I felt like last night with that whole, them coming in the way they did, and because I'm sitting there in the thing and I'm watching them walk past, like, what in the hell?
Brooks tries to gain his composure and deflect some more, but the presence of the pictures are damning, and he's clearly rattled and beginning to understand the seriousness of the situation. At this point, the investigators come at Brooks with more confidence, and now, understandably, he no longer wants to talk, at which point the cops are done with the games and tell Brooks that he knows the deal and they know exactly what he did at the parade.
What time did you come out here with the car? What time did you head out from Milwaukee to Waukesha?
I don't want to talk, man. I don't want to talk if I'm not getting nothing.
I just showed you 3 pictures.
Okay,
man.
you showed me pictures, but you're not telling me what I'm facing.
You know what you're facing.
I don't. That's the whole. That's why I keep asking.
You drove down a parade route. You got a pretty good idea what you're facing.
You see what I'm saying? So now this is more stuff coming out, man.
Yep, we told you we were looking for that explanation.
And that's you.
And all I'm saying is, look, all somebody got to do is just tell me what I'm facing. I'll tell you guys whatever you want to know.
Okay,
I said that 3-4 times.
There it is.
And it's like, yo,
So Darrell, what were you thinking when you went driving through this parade?
What am I facing? That's all I want to know. I don't have no problem talking with you guys.
You got people injured that had to go to the hospital.
So they're saying I injured somebody, or you're saying I injured somebody.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at what, reckless endangerment?
The very least, yeah.
The very least.
People got hurt. That's reckless endangerment. I don't know exactly what they're going to classify it. Yeah, people had legs broken.
Endangerment's where you may have hurt somebody by your actions. You did hurt somebody by your actions.
So what am I being charged with? That's what I'm trying to say.
I don't know exactly yet.
You're still working that out.
I don't know all of the details. You're not going to get that out of me. I'm sorry. I'm explaining to you. You're driving down there. You're looking at people got hurt. People got some broken legs.
And y'all saying that's me?
I know that's you.
How you know that's you?
Because I can recognize you. I can tell it's you.
Yeah.
And that's your mom's car, which you had the key for. I can ID you, Darrell. I'm just asking you to be honest about it.
Be honest about what I'm facing.
What do you think you're facing?
I don't.
What should you be facing? What do you think hypothetically? I mean, you've been through this gamut before.
Brooks tries to bring things back around, repeating the same line, asking what he's facing, as the cops downplay the seriousness of 6 murders as simple broken bones. It seems that at some point later, the gravity is dawning on Brooks, as he seems to inquire about how many people got hurt, but this later proves to be an act, when Brooks gets the cops to say they care when a kid gets injured, then says why don't they care about his injured shoulder from his arrest.
I want to believe a lot of people did.
A lot of people got hurt.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Darrell, you were there.
No, I'm saying a lot of people got hurt.
Yeah, there's people hurt, man.
Like that?
Broken legs and stuff like I told you. Concussions to their head.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see that happen to nobody, dude.
I don't believe you would either.
Yeah, but you
and I'm not saying it's on purpose.
You just thought, yo, this dude is heartless.
So tell us otherwise.
You know
I
what
didn't
I'm
say
saying?
that. I'm
It's
asking
like,
you, what
man,
do you want it to be perceived as?
Tell us how it is then. If we're wrong and it's not heartless, tell us what it was.
I'm here to listen if it's something different.
You didn't have to put the picture down. You didn't have to.
The stroller.
That's a stroller.
Yeah.
So a kid got hurt.
Yeah.
A kid.
Yeah.
Bad. You said a lot of people got hurt.
Checked out, yeah.
A lot of people got hurt.
To me, it's a pretty good injury if a doctor's got to check you out or you got a broken leg.
Yeah, so what do you call my shoulder? I'm just making a joke, but yeah.
I don't know. Well, I want to believe you're the man you say you are, Darrell, but I'm not laughing because there's nothing funny about this.
No, I was just saying. No, it's not. It's never been that. Dude, I don't take my life as a joke.
As time goes on, it seems the reality dawns on Brooks, and he acknowledges that his life is over after this.
Come to grips with the fact that my life is over, man.
Take a breather.
Give you a minute. Someone will step out. Someone just gotta stand in the doorway with you, but they won't talk to you. They'll keep it quiet for you.
Man, this is how my story ends, huh?
We'll be back in a minute.
This is how my story ends. Wow. Wow. Man, I'm never getting out of prison, man.
Don't know that.
Don't know that. Reckless endangerment is what I'm being charged with. You know how much time that carries? That's what I'm being charged with, right? Yeah.
It's part.
Part? So I got more than one charge?
Some time goes by, and investigators return to show Brooks some grisly videos from the incident, seemingly seeing potential in Darrell's distraught state and acceptance that his life is over. But Brooks can't bear to watch the video and keeps saying that his life is over. He begins to shake and say that he's not a monster.
Can I show you something?
Yes, sir. Look, what are the charges?
Let's watch something. Let's watch something for me.
They saying more incriminating stuff. I'm already like I'm about to lose my life, man. Can I ask a quick question?
Hold on, watch it.
I know. Why do you want me to watch it?
Yeah, I'll show you. I just want you to watch it. Watch it.
Why though?
Watch it for me.
Why though?
Because I want you to see what's in the video. Did you watch it?
No.
Will you?
I just want to know why you want me to watch it.
Because I want you to see what's on the video. Why don't you want to watch it?
I just want to know why you want me to watch it. I didn't say
I just want you to see what I told you.
Problem.
You're not accepting the answer. I told you I want you to see what's in it. That's why I want you to watch it.
You wanted information from us. We're sharing.
I want you to watch it and see what's in it. Yeah, it's a good point. It's information sharing. Okay, so I want you to watch it and see what's in it.
It's like you like badgering me like a little
bit. But Darrell, you asked me a question. Okay? And this is more than what we had before. So I am showing you more. I'm asking you to watch it. Will you watch it?
I'm just saying, why do you want me to look? So you
because I think it's important. So you see what happened.
You told me what happened. You already told me what happened, Carl. Y'all told me what happened. I understand my life is over. I'm trying to come to grips with that. I'm trying to come to grips with the fact that this is how my story ends. From trying to love somebody, I'll never see my kids again. My mom, my relationship is gone from me. And it's like, what is it to look at more? My life is for me to look at my life end?
That's you, Darrell.
Is it looking at my life ending?
These are the same photo. I'm just telling you that. Okay? I think it's important you see these.
It's important for me to see my life ending.
Those are children right there. Those are kids. See that little kid right there? You gonna look at it?
Too hurt.
You're too hurt?
Yeah.
Emotionally?
Don't do that, hurt. Please don't.
Don't do that?
Don't do this. Please, man.
What bothers you?
What bothers me is that my life is over when I wasn't. I had no intentions of even being in a situation where anybody would get hurt, harmed by me or anybody else. It's not my intentions. Never was my intentions to even let this dude, man. I'm not a monster, hurt.
Right.
I'm not a monster, man. I know y'all probably don't care. Y'all on the other side of the badge, man. Y'all don't care, man.
Dude, what do your kids want you to do right now? What'd your mom want you to do right now?
Be at home. And
no, about this.
Happen.
About this.
I don't know. I didn't talk to anybody. I haven't talked to anybody.
You know what they'd want you to do.
No, I don't.
Are you sorry about this?
Enough screwing around, man. What would they want you to do?
Man, just take me to jail, man. That's where I'm going anyway. Just take me to jail so I can end.
This is an incredibly gut-wrenching part of the interview, and at this point, the investigators know they've got Brooks on the hook emotionally. It seems until this moment he didn't even realize the extent to which he damaged the community and the people in the crowd that day. While they still don't get any solid confession or admission of guilt from Brooks, it's clear from his reaction that he's responsible and now is beginning to see the dark reality of what he caused that day. Weirdly though, Brooks almost tries to plead his humanity to the investigators, saying that because he doesn't rob people or sell drugs, he's not a bad person, despite the cold hard evidence that he is indeed a monster right in front of him.
I don't go out harming people. I don't go out robbing or taking anything from people. I don't break into people's stuff. I don't steal from people. I don't sell drugs. I don't beat people up. I don't ride around with weapons or walk around with guns and thinking I'm Billy Bad. I don't do that. That's not who I am. That's not the type of that I do.
Right. Yeah,
I get in
all that.
situations. Is because
how do you feel that people got hurt?
I make bad decisions.
How do you feel that people got hurt?
I don't wish for anybody to be hurt.
So how does it make you feel that people
not one soul? I don't care who it is.
No, you don't wish it. How does it make?
I don't wish it, and I don't want it. It's never my intention personally.
You're not answering me. How do you feel that people did?
Interestingly, even the investigators pick up on the fact that despite all of the people getting hurt, the person that Brooks is most concerned with is still himself and what will happen to him.
Getting hurt.
I'll tell you one thing though, my life is over.
You listen to those women and children screaming because of what you did, and the only thing you feel is about yourself?
No, I'm not trying to make anything about me. I'm just saying.
That's all you've talked about?
Yeah, because you asked me a direct question about how I feel. So what, I'm supposed to not tell you how I feel? I feel like my life is over.
They're hurt. Does it bother you?
It bothers me when anybody's hurt.
This doesn't go anywhere, and as time goes on, Brooks again tries to deflect responsibility, claiming that the cause was mental health issues and that he shouldn't have stopped taking his medication.
I do smoke weed. Do I have mental health issues? Yes, I do. Am I supposed to be on medication? Yes, I am.
What are you supposed to be on?
What am I supposed to be on?
What are you supposed to be taking?
Right. The last one I was taking that I remember the name is Paxil, but I was just on something else that I can't remember the name to. It was a T, some type of T name.
What are you diagnosed with?
Bipolar, manic depressive, schizophrenic, severely depressed, PTSD.
Okay. And
these, I used to get SSI checks, and I've been in mental institutions.
When's the last time?
It's been a minute.
It's possible that by the end of the interview, Brooks still didn't know that he was responsible for numerous murders, as he pleads with investigators that he's not a killer, still thinking that nobody died, almost sounding proud of himself that he didn't take anybody's life.
Did a lot of people get hurt?
I don't know what the number is.
He said it was more than one person, though.
I believe so, yeah.
And nobody was killed, were they?
Not aware. Like I said, I don't have all the information on this very large scale.
Well, I think by now if somebody died, they would.
I would assume that we would know since we hang out with it.
Y'all would know that.
Probably would.
I'm not a murderer. I'm not a killer. I'm not a beat up people. I'm not a robber. I'm not none of those things. None of them. Life is over, man. Oh, man.
It almost seemed that Brooks was coming to terms with what he did, thinking that nobody died, as he begins to look closer at the pictures and lamenting how crazy it looks.
Looking at this is what he wanted me to see, right? This right here, right? It's crazy, yo. It's over, man. It's crazy, man. That's all I keep thinking about is like, would have been a thrill to live to be 70 or something like that.
What was that?
I said it would have been a thrill to live to be like 70 or something like that, 80 or something like that, you know.
Darrell Brooks was now in custody, and this looked like an easy case to try, but little did prosecutors know just how much of a circus this trial would become. Brooks faced 6 counts of murder, but outrage exploded when his bail hit headlines, $5 million in cash, a number that meant nothing to families who knew he'd already been out on bail for allegedly running over the mother of his child just weeks earlier. In January 2022, the Waukesha Court Commissioner ruled in a preliminary hearing that Brooks would stand trial due to ample evidence on all fronts. Brooks faced 77 charges, 6 counts of homicide, and many charges of reckless endangerment and a litany of violence. By June, his lawyers demanded a venue change, but that was denied, so they pivoted, entering a plea of not guilty by mental defect. Brooks's disinterest in the court proceedings was evident from the start. At his next motion hearing, prosecutors called Brooks out for sleeping in court.
They've observed that for about the past 40 minutes, Mr. Brooks appears to be asleep in the courtroom. I don't know if he's just being disrespectful, uninterested, or if he's not feeling well.
Soon after, an outburst at the prosecutors, judge, and sheriff's deputies got him escorted out of court.
Mr. Brooks, sit here, act like you know me. People like you don't, y'all
Mr.
you
Brooks.
don't know nothing about where I come from.
Mr. Brooks.
You push me, dog. Don't push back then.
Mr. Brooks.
Don't push back. Push me in.
Okay, Mr. Brooks, you need to look at me for a minute, okay?
Why? Listen to all this political stuff y'all got going on?
Then, just weeks later at another hearing, Brooks withdrew his not guilty plea by reason of insanity plea without giving a reason.
Your decision to withdraw the special plea of not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect, is that your desire, sir?
Yeah, I have my own reasons why.
What followed was one of the most insane trials in American history and a complete courtroom circus. Brooks fired his attorneys, opting to represent himself, and showed the world what it looks like when a homicidal narcissist hijacks a courtroom. Proceedings were set to begin at the start of October, and just 2 weeks before the trial, the bombshell landed, as Darrell Brooks' public defenders officially submitted a motion requesting removal from the case, clearing the way for him to represent himself.
Even the angry outbursts that we've seen in court, the avoidance in his responses to questions asked.
I object to that because at the end of the day...
I understand, Mr. Brooks, stop. You can object. Your objection is noted. I'm going on.
This was followed by a desperate plea from his own mother, calling him unstable and his proposal to represent himself a bad idea. The judge noted the difficulties with dealing with the accused, but he was quick to clap back at the judge, even then.
You're reading from something that I haven't been privileged to read myself.
This is a prime example of some of the difficulty with Mr. Brooks.
I don't think you have a PhD, Your Honor.
The judge granted the request, and Brooks would face 76 charges, all alone defending himself.
And from this point forward, Mr. Brooks will proceed as his own attorney.
Starting at 9 a.m., at 9:10, the judge had already had to impose a break in the session. Brooks, defiant from the jump, refused to acknowledge his legal name and derailed proceedings with many interruptions. 40 minutes later, another breakdown at 9:43 a.m., and another ordered break. Brooks refused to go on and demanded the judge's name and a copy of her oath of office. By midday, the judge had had enough. She exiled Brooks to an adjacent courtroom, forcing him to appear via video feed, a move that let her mute his mic, with him looking like a reality TV villain. The grueling 2-day ordeal saw jurors struck down at random because of Brooks' relentless grandstanding. From a pool of 300 people, in the end, 12 jurors and 4 alternatives survived the chaos. 10 men, 6 women, notably all white, with 12 brave souls on the jury, willing to endure one of the most unhinged trials in recent memory to put away this evil killer. The jury was not present for Wednesday afternoon's hearing to discuss final housekeeping matters before opening statements the next day. Brooks opened with a curveball, claiming to have COVID and demanding the trial pause until Friday for test results. Yet he refused a rapid test, saying why take 2 tests for the same thing. Prosecutors revealed that the defendant was heard on a jail phone telling his mother that he was going to delay the trial with this tactic. During a back and forth in the courtroom regarding the COVID protocols, things got quickly heated between Brooks and the judge. Brooks, in his orange jumpsuit and leaning over his desk towards the judge, casted a menacing figure.
So I'm not arguing with you, sir,
I just want you to know that I'm not arguing with you either, but I was right in the middle of finishing what I was saying.
So I need to stop you for a minute, Mr. Brooks,
I
because
don't consent to that, Your Honor, because
you don't have to consent. But here we go. Let me
to being cut off right when I'm trying.
All right, I'm just going to talk over him for a minute. I do not have any other information regarding the COVID-19 protocol, meaning anything specific about you, Mr. Brooks, other than what was put in the inmate communication, which reads, due to just learning I'm on COVID-19 protocol, I respectfully ask for all proceedings to be adjourned at this time, which is why I asked you if there was any other information you wanted to provide me as I consider your request.
Brooks later played up the COVID angle, claiming he felt fatigued and had lost his sense of taste, and said he was afraid despite being fully vaxxed, but refused to discuss the details of his test.
So I find it very hard to believe that you can't consult with jail staff for them to tell you what is going on in my situation, where they know that I've just been seen by a nurse that placed me on this protocol for having a loss of taste, fatigue, and I have to wait for the results of my test. And until then, I am on a protocol which restricts me to my cell. That is very easy information to obtain, and I find it very hard that Your Honor cannot obtain that information, but can obtain a way to communicate with jail staff when there's a witness list involved. We're talking about someone's health that can affect not just you, but anybody else, not just officers, but also inmates. We're talking about health and we're talking about safety. That has a lot of merit. And frankly, Your Honor, I'm afraid. I'm fully vaccinated and I've never had COVID. I don't know what I'm looking at here. That was the last thing I was hoping I would be told today, Your Honor. So I'm afraid right now. I'm not feeling well. I don't know what's going on with myself. That's the reason why I put in the sick call slip initially. I had been telling officers for days that I hadn't been feeling well, but I didn't know what it was. But I felt that I had to put in the sick call slip because I was not able to taste anything. That is the reason why I was seen by nurses. That is the reason why the COVID test was administered, and that's why I'm on the protocol as we speak.
Are you willing to discuss with me what tests were done? Again, I cannot obtain that information on my own.
I'm not a nurse, Your Honor. I don't know the name of the test. Like I said, I've never had this happen.
He was put in an adjacent courtroom again for all his disruptions, but Brooks still managed to cause issues, this time holding up a big blue objection placard. When the trial officially started, we would begin to see footage from the proceedings. Darrell Brooks seemingly hadn't even read his own discovery, the information and evidence from the prosecutors to prepare his defense. Despite recommendations from the judge to wear a suit and tie, Brooks came to court in his orange jail uniform.
The whole point of allowing for street clothing is not only to shield jurors from the fact that you are in custody.
With all due respect, I do not agree with that assessment whatsoever. There's no possible way that anybody will not know that I am in custody.
Within moments of the proceedings getting underway, Brooks had interrupted Judge Darrow multiple times.
So
Mr. Brooks,
I filed haven't even been responded to. I gave
Mr. Brooks, you're interrupting me yet again.
You just weren't speaking,
all right,
so
Mr. Brooks, you are now going to be removed to the other courtroom.
I don't consent to that.
He was again exiled to the adjacent courtroom, where a furious Brooks appeared in the video call, shirtless, pacing back and forth.
At 8:42 a.m., this court ordered Mr. Brooks be removed from the courtroom due to repeated interruptions and disruption with the court. You can see that he is seated with his back to the court or to the camera. He took his shirt off as well. I'm also told that he is threatening to throw and break items.
The judge says that his behavior was intended to make a mockery of the court, adding that his mental examinations revealed no competency concerns. During the lengthy process of the judge reading jury instructions, Brooks held his objection sign up the whole time before weirdly tucking it into the front of his pants. He would be allowed back into the courtroom, only to be kicked out again after claiming a juror flipped him off on the way in and out of the court.
Noticed that one of the jurors, the lady in the black that's closest to the screen in that corner chair over there, I recognized her from my initial appearance. She flipped me off coming in to my initial appearance and coming out.
The prosecution finally opened with their opening statements. Their intent was to provide evidence to prove that Darrell Brooks was responsible for the deadly events of that day.
The evidence is going to show that Mr. Brooks left behind a trail of carnage and chaos.
They explained that he had been fleeing from another crime scene where he'd laid hands on a woman.
The evidence will show that he left that crime scene, created that crime scene in fact, because he was fleeing from another one. One where he had laid his hands on a woman and where police involvement became inevitable.
The argument with the mother of his child served as the origin to his rage that day when he plowed his car into an innocent crowd.
You're going to hear about the origin of Mr. Brooks' rage that day. A violent domestic argument with Erica Patterson, his former girlfriend and the mother of his child.
The first witness was his baby mama's friend. Brooks asked the witness about something that she claimed she heard him say. When he had to read her written statement, which had swear words in it, he skipped the swear words because he said he doesn't cuss.
After a short dispute between her, Kirby, and Brooks, she saw Brooks get back into the red SUV and heard him saying something to the effect of, I don't swear, so F you, effing bees, you're dead. Did you at any time hear anything like that?
Yes.
The implication was that if he doesn't swear, then who could have been this cussing doppelganger? A strategy that might have seemed smart to a stupid person, but this is all that he could try, and the court would bend over backwards to let Brooks dig his own grave. The judge was incredibly patient and would always let Darrell complete his nonsensical arguments. This was all done to ensure that Brooks was given a fair trial, despite his unhinged and psychotic behaviors, because mostly they wanted no appeals, no mistrials, and no escape. He would hang himself with his own words and have no pathway to getting out on a technicality, which was why the prosecutors even came to his aid throughout the trial to ensure that this madman was given a fair shake and no appeal.
No, I'm not. Are we both privy to the same pre-trial procedure?
There was a pre-trial ruling about
Do you want her to answer that question, or do you want to move on?
I want to move on.
One of Brooks's tactics to delay court proceedings would fall apart at the end of the week, when the judge found out that he had received his COVID test results, which he refused to present to the court, the judge instructing her deputies to take it by force.
Brooks, I was provided with information that your test result was hand-delivered to you, folded. Did you receive that?
I was made aware of I didn't look at it yet, so may I ask the reason why that would be?
Mr. Brooks, you raised this issue yourself, and I'd like to know the result.
I would too, but I was kind of in the middle of preparing for my defense, so
Mr. Brooks, find the piece of paper and open it up and read it, please.
I will not consent to that, Your Honor. Or do I agree to that, Your Honor? I do not.
Mr. Brooks, then I'm going to advise the Sheriff's Department to find the piece of paper and hand it to me so that I can read it.
The negative COVID test was read to the court by the judge.
But I can confirm that the test result for COVID-19 was negative.
A shaken Darrell Brooks sat in the adjacent courtroom and broke down in tears as his first scheme to dupe the courtroom fully failed. Even back in the courtroom, Brooks would continue to make nonsensical remarks, like questioning why an officer was looking at the jury while answering questions about responding to injured victims.
Overruled, he may answer.
He's at the ground, Your Honor.
Overruled, he may answer.
So is he going to answer to the question, to
Yes.
the prosecution table, or to the jury? I'm not sure. He's looking at them answering the questions, but they're not answering the question, asking the questions.
You may answer the question, sir.
The three individuals that I met with initially had band uniforms on, and it was my understanding that the band from that vicinity right then and there was a high school band, so I would place them all at teenage age range.
Brooks would go on to question the responding officer, making an absurd point that if he's still being paid his salary to testify, that he's de facto being a paid witness, and continuing to admonish him for looking at the jury during testimony.
I notice, Officer Phillips, you are in uniform this afternoon. Were you scheduled to work today?
Yes.
So it would be fair to say that you would be on duty as of now if you weren't giving testimony in this matter.
I would be on duty right now, yes.
So it would also be fair to ask if it would be fair to say that you giving testimony right now, you're still getting paid for it?
I am currently employed by the City of Waukesha Police Department on a working patrol shift, on a normal shift for myself, yes.
So with that, would it be fair to say that you are getting paid right now as we speak?
Yes, I'm getting paid right now.
By whom?
Objection, relevance. Sustained. Next question.
As the trial continued, Brooks was put on timeout in the adjacent courtroom frequently. He began showing up to court in a suit and tie and apologized for last week's behavior.
I apologize to the bailiffs, that I apologize for my actions. Like I said, that's not how I was raised. I come from a Christian background. My mother did not raise me that way.
Despite managing to stay out of the isolation zone for the week, his demeanor remained incredibly unhinged. Each time somebody mentioned Darrell Brooks, he flatly denied any connection to the name.
Darrell Brooks, the defendant, seated at the table.
Let the record reflect that I do not identify by that name, nor do I know anybody by that name.
Your objection is noted. For the record, Mr. Brooks.
Objection. I do not consent to being called that name, Your Honor, nor do I identify by that name.
Tensions escalated when prosecutors played audio capturing the moments the vehicle struck the high school marching band. This harrowing recording sharply contrasted Brooks' emotionless face and the evident trauma of the band director. Brooks, who had been arrested with dreadlocks, shaved his hair during incarceration, bringing up the fact that he currently had a shaved head, yet the officer described a suspect with hair as if this might somehow save him.
Would it be fair to say that the alleged defendant that you just identified on the record for the court does not have hair?
You have shaved your head, yes.
Would it be fair to say that you have not seen the alleged defendant shave his head?
Brooks aimed to challenge the eyewitness testimony linking him to the car, while suggesting that whoever the driver was, they were honking their horn during the incident, proof that people were not intentionally targeted.
Would it be fair to say that that was just a horn that was heard?
No, I don't hear a horn.
You don't hear a horn?
I do not hear a horn.
Can we start that from the beginning?
Brooks' strategy fell flat, and one particularly damning moment came when a detective said flat out in front of Brooks that he indeed drove through the parade, with Brooks' mind games doing little to help him.
Do you remember what you can recall?
Do I remember if I can recall?
Do you remember the disturbance you recall?
Yes, I do.
Would you state what that is? What that was, rather?
I heard a horn beeping, and then a Ford Escape came through the parade route, and you drove past me and wouldn't stop, and you continued driving into the parade route.
Who is you?
Darrell Brooks, the defendant, seated at the table.
Let the record reflect that I do not identify by that name, nor do I know anybody by that name.
Brooks was absolutely cooked, as the prosecution calmly asked if the driver of the red SUV was in court, and they repeatedly identified Brooks as the driver.
Do you see the driver of the red SUV in the courtroom here today, Officer Schneider?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled. She may answer.
I'd ask Mr. Brooks be directed to remove his mask so that Officer Schneider can identify him, please.
Objection, I never heard an answer to the question.
It has not been answered, Mr. Brooks. Please remove your mask. Thank you.
Officer Schneider, is the driver of the red SUV that you've just described for this jury present in this courtroom today?
Objection,
Yes.
hearsay.
Can you please point him out by where he's seated and what he's wearing?
He is seated over here at the table wearing a gray suit.
That's the man you saw driving the red SUV as it sped past you?
Yes, it is.
The state called witnesses throughout the week. Emotionally charged and traumatic testimony came from Kelly Grabow, who had been at the parade with her daughter, Adelia. She testified that the SUV knocked her to the ground. She then saw her daughter in the street, her daughter's shoes and glasses down the road.
And I seen her in the middle of the road, which I don't know how she got to that position from where I seen her last. But she was lying in the middle of the road, and there were some people around her trying to help her. Her shoes were down the road, as well as her glasses.
Adelia was lucky to survive, and Kelly stressed the eerie detail that she had never heard a horn like Brooks had claimed.
Would you just repeat your answer, please?
I did not hear a horn.
Thank you.
Next, Jeffrey Rogers, president of the Waukesha Blazers youth baseball team, who was present at the parade with his 2 children and team members. Both of his children were injured in the incident. He described the heart-wrenching scene where, after the red SUV had barreled through the crowd, he found 8-year-old Jackson Sparks, one of the victims who passed away, lying motionless in front of his vehicle.
What observations did you make of Jackson?
Jackson was motionless on the ground, eyes open, didn't appear to be aware.
Did he appear to be alive?
Was unsure.
Did you find out that he died as a result of being struck?
I did.
Strikingly, Jeffrey too confirmed that he had never heard a horn.
Did you hear a horn honking?
I did not.
During cross-examination, Brooks seized his chance to challenge the state's evidence, yet his interaction with Jeffrey Rogers took an unexpected turn. Brooks took a full-minute pause, apologizing to the court for the delay, but he got a bit too emotional.
I apologize to the witnesses. A little emotional right now for me, so I apologize to the court as well for the delay.
Whether this break was genuine sorrow or an attempt at a calculated move remained open to interpretation, but despite crocodile tears from the man who caused this pain, the courtroom echoed with the real grief and tears of families forever scarred by the events of that tragic day. As the dam of damning evidence and witness testimony continued to burst open, Brooks attempted a bold maneuver. He called the state of Wisconsin to testify.
And you have simply put on here, state of Wisconsin plaintiff, that's an entity. You have to name a person, sir.
The judge explained that the state of Wisconsin was not a person. Unfazed, Brooks insisted that he had a right to face his accuser, a clear play on his Sixth Amendment rights, as if he had uncovered a loophole to exonerate himself.
You have to have a person named, sir, so that they can come and testify. You only have an entity named.
Is it not true that under the Sixth Amendment I have the right to face my accuser? If I'm not able to face my accuser, then how can the claim even stand?
Even as this courtroom drama unfolded, even more harrowing testimony deepened the tragic narrative of that fateful incident.
Oh yeah, I heard and saw the impact.
Tell us about
you
that,
ever
please.
Heard a car hit another car or an abutment or a deer. If anybody's ever hit a deer with their car, you've heard it. I watched the body fly up onto the hood, and her head snapped back, and the body remained on the hood as it passed the side of my vehicle to where I thought I could have just reached out and grabbed her.
The courtroom shifted once more as the evidence painted a grim portrait of the damage caused that day. Prosecutors presented images of the battered SUV that bore the damage of the relentless rampage that happened at the parade. Brooks was doing everything he possibly could to downplay the atrocity that he'd so obviously committed. At one point, he even objected to the parade crash being called an attack during a damning moment where it was pointed out that even after the truck had been taken in as evidence, it still had a Christmas hat caught in the hood.
So this is the red SUV that was used in the parade attack. This is a picture of it taken after. I remember a hood from a white jacket and a hat, a black hat with snowflakes on it, being pressed in between the hood and the windshield wiper of the vehicle.
Objection to it being called an attack. I think that's a disparaging remark for the record.
Your objection is noted, and the answer will stand. I will instruct the witness to simply describe what he is seeing without further characterizing it, as it will be up to the jury to determine the facts in this case.
One witness estimated that the car hit around 15 people of the group she was with during the parade.
Did you see the red SUV strike any people in the Catholic community group?
Several.
Can you estimate how many?
At least 15.
Brooks repeatedly tried his doomed strategy of trying to convince witnesses that he was not who the witnesses said he was, and every time it fell flat, with one particularly pathetic showdown with the man who found Brooks in his yard after the crime.
Sir, Mr. Brooks, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, I do, and I object to being called that name for the record. Do you recall the description that you gave at that time?
I do. Well, my best of my knowledge was that you were either black, Latino,
who's you,
or mixed.
Who's you?
Hold on, you have to let him answer the question first before you interrupt him with another one. Go ahead with the description you provided that night.
I said that the individual was either black, mixed, or Latino.
So it would be fair to say you didn't know at the time?
I was giving a general description.
So it would be fair to say that you weren't sure?
I was positive that... I was positive it was you.
Who is you?
You. I'm looking at you.
In one particularly pathetic day of the trial, Brooks went on a 50-minute rant. He opened by refusing to consent to be referred to by the name Darrell Brooks and calling himself a third-party interviewer making a special appearance.
Don't consent to being called by the name that this court chooses to identify me by. I want to state for the record that I'm here as a third-party interviewer on special appearance on behalf of my client.
Brooks would go on to look for strange legal loopholes, asking if he can face his accuser, which is the state of Wisconsin, and saying only a living human can make a claim, and that he wants the case dismissed due to failure to appear by the plaintiff, and saying that the charges can't even exist.
That is based on the fact that I have the right to face my accuser, which would be the plaintiff, state of Wisconsin, in this matter. They have yet to show that a claim is a living human being can only make a claim. An entity cannot make a claim. I move for this case to be dismissed for failure to appear by the plaintiff and failure to state a claim for which relief can be granted. Everything that I'm saying, it has merit and it has validity. As we see it here today, I'm still being charged with charges that shouldn't even exist based on the testimony that we've heard for the last few days. I say I have the right to face my accuser. Where's the injured party? Who's making the claim? I asked Your Honor numerous times for Your Honor's name. You wouldn't answer. I asked, did you have a claim against me? You did not answer. I asked the whole courtroom, did anyone have a claim against me? No one said anything, which you stated for the record a non-responsive answer. A non-responsive answer is an agreement. The plaintiff should be present in this matter. Where is the plaintiff? Who's bringing the claim? Because we know an entity can't bring a claim. It has to be a living, breathing human being.
Brooks would complain that he only had 3 days to come up with a defense and that he's just winging it.
I'm constantly referred to as pro se when I've raised the issue that I'm pro per. I have the right to conduct my defense pro per free from professional restrictions imposed upon licensed attorneys, which this court is well aware that I am not a licensed attorney. In fact, the court is also aware that I only had 3 days to prepare for a trial that the prosecution has been prepared for a whole year. We see these boxes right here. This box alone is 45 or 50 pounds full of so much information. I haven't even gone through half of it. It was stated for the record that the discovery, in its entirety, was brung to my housing unit on the 29th of September, which trial was scheduled, that would be a Thursday, which trial was scheduled for Monday. How can I possibly go through all that, all the paperwork, all the digital discovery and things of that nature? How can I go through all of that and be prepared in 3 days? That's a clear bias. I did not have time to prepare for this. Everything I'm doing is off the top of my head, winging it, taking it as it comes.
He would ramble on about these points and other incomprehensible angles for 50 minutes, and the prosecution would clap back, citing a prior case where someone had tried to jam up the legal system with incomprehensible jargon like this.
This case is talking about many of the topics that Mr. Brooks has now recited to the court, and simply states, the majority of Retzlaff's filing is incomprehensible jargon and cut and paste legal mumbo jumbo. Sovereign citizen theories are frivolous and wholly without merit. Mr. Brooks knowingly
called that name, nor do I know any individual by that name, Your Honor.
Please do the courtesy of not interrupting the state, as they did not interrupt you for over the almost 50 minutes that you spoke. Thank you. Please continue.
Your Honor, the record is very clear that Mr. Brooks knowingly, willingly, voluntarily, and intelligently insisted on representing himself in this trial. He has no constitutional right to stand by counsel, none whatsoever. The court patiently went through the form and advised him of many of the things he's complaining about here today, the resources of the state, the knowledge of the law, his ignorance of the law. And his words to this court, and I quote to the best of my ability, "It don't make me flinch one bit." That's what he told this court, whatever it was, 2 weeks ago. Now he's here complaining over and over and over again how unfair this is to him. It's highly offensive.
Brooks clapped back with high-level legalese, calling the prosecutor's argument a load of crap.
Your Honor, that's a load of crap.
Mr. Brooks, it's my opportunity now. I gave you about 50 minutes.
I just want to object to the disrespectful comments that was just made. I'm not trying to hold you up from with your gonna say, but that's a load of crap.
Brooks continued to cause a scene in the courtroom each day that went by, at one point snapping at the judge and telling her, "Don't nobody tell me what to do," because he's a grown man with kids.
You're advising me to be quiet? Is you telling me to be quiet?
To be respectful when the
Are
jury
you
comes
telling
out.
me to be quiet, or are you asking me?
I'm asking you and advising
Okay,
you.
thank you for correcting that, because don't nobody tell me what to do. I don't tell nobody else what to do.
I'd appreciate
We're all
if you
we're
lower
all
your tone
adults
of
in here.
voice
I've
and
never
not yell
told
at
you
me,
to
sir.
do anything at all.
Sir, I'd appreciate if your tone of voice would change.
I would appreciate if you would ask me. I'm a grown man with grown kids. Ain't nobody gonna talk to me like that. Nobody. I don't have a problem with doing what you ask me to do, not tell me. Just like when I asked you about subject matter jurisdiction that you have yet to prove on the record. But somehow I'm being intentionally disruptive. Come on, man. Stop. Just stop it.
Jury's coming out.
All rise for the jury.
Not gonna work. You're supposed to be scared of getting removed or something.
As the trial pressed on, yet more evidence emerged tying Brooks directly to the vehicle. The rap video that Brooks had made with the car, that Brooks, who had not gone through his discovery, was apparently shocked to see. He described it being used as evidence to be mind-boggling.
But how can you play something that I didn't
Mr.
even
Brooks,
have?
I'll take that up outside the presence of the jury.
This
Your
is
objections are
mind-boggling.
noted.
This is
It's
mind-boggling.
overruled.
Mind-boggling.
In the video, the red Ford Escape is unmistakably visible, adding another heavy blow to an already unwinnable case. Then Brooks even went so far as to admonish the judge for permitting laughter at what many deemed his laughably poor defense, a difficult task for even the most seasoned attorneys.
Objection, Your Honor. Why is something always funny at that table? That it would be the same thing. I take that as disrespect because they were allowed to say something and I said under my breath that was disrespect.
I
they
would
just
direct
did the
both
same
parties
thing.
to avoid commentary.
Okay, well, can
and
you do that,
gestures
please?
and faces.
Acknowledge
Yeah.
This will be followed by security camera footage provided by Brooks' own mother that was presented along with a damning still image presented in court showing him next to the car on the day of the parade. Then, after prosecutors rested their case, Brooks gave his statement, telling the jury that there are always two sides to every story.
Everyone in this room has been taught pretty much as far back as we can remember is that there's always two sides to every story.
And instead of outlining any solid defense theories that might save him from prison, he would then break down in tears, claiming to be hurt by the names and speculations that had come his way.
There's been a lot of words thrown out there about the alleged. A lot of speculation, a lot of ridicule. Words like demon. Words like monster.
Later, Brooks would rage at the judge for rushing him and him not having time to prepare, accusing her of pulling fast maneuvers and bringing up her oath of office and accusing her of violating it.
Okay, I'm done. The jury's coming out. Be prepared to call
So
one
that's
of the
a
three.
rush to judgment.
That is not a rush to judgment.
It is a rush
Again,
to
I'm
judgment.
done. The jury's
It's clearly
coming
a
in.
rush to judgment if I'm telling you that I don't have the
No,
file.
in
How am
my
I
opinion,
supposed?
you're attempting to delay. So
No,
let's
I'm not.
keep
I'm
going.
not attempting to delay nothing. You want to come check the boxes yourself? You always trying to pull some fast maneuvers.
Mr. Brooks,
And Miss Judge, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, the jury's coming in.
Yeah,
Show
and
respect to
they
the
deserve
jury.
to know this too. It's still issues that need to get addressed. We didn't even address everything.
Mr. Brooks, I addressed all of the issues.
No, I
and you
still
know
had
it.
another one that didn't have nothing to do with nothing we just talked about.
All
There
right.
was a whole nother issue that needed to be addressed that I needed to
And we'll
bring on
address
the
it
record to
later.
your attention.
We'll address it later.
It needs to get addressed now before we go any further because it's an important matter.
Brooks would be endlessly disruptive when it came to the order of questioning his own witnesses, with him screaming at the judge to show him some respect when she wouldn't say yes or no to his nonsensical questions and claiming that he was being treated unfairly.
At the same time, though, that's still a rush to judgment, Your Honor. You can't. I shouldn't be forced to call people in the order that I'm being told to when these are my witnesses.
You did not want to provide us with the order, and I respected that, Mr. Brooks.
But I said that.
And
from the
so
beginning.
then I asked
Your
you
Honor,
to put
with
him
all
in
respect,
blocks.
did I not inform Your Honor in the court that I would not give a specific order? I stated that numerous times.
And Mr. Brooks,
Numerous
I
times.
have authority to tell you otherwise. You
I
may
did.
not like it. You may
I did.
disagree with it.
It's not
You
about
have
that.
been-
It's about the rush
you
to
have not
judgment,
been
Your Honor.
cooperating with this process. The
There's
state
nothing
has
to cooperate
graciously
with.
agreed to assist you given your custodial status.
Okay, and I never asked them to do
any
that.
Attorney in this
I
situation
never asked them to do that, Your Honor.
would give us the order.
Did I not? Did I ask them to do that? I did not ask them to do that. They volunteered.
They offered.
So at the end of the day,
but we expect
if
your
they didn't want to do
cooperation
it,
in that.
yeah, but that wasn't one of the stipulations when they offered to do it, Your Honor. Let's
No, common courtesy is the stipulation.
Okay,
sir.
but it
And
wasn't
here's the
stipulated
thing.
to, so I didn't have.
You are well advised of how this process was going to go.
No, I was not.
It is
because
normal
if you
in a trial.
you can't
to call
put the people
witnesses
you can't
out
put the
of
people
order
in a
based on
specific
their
spot for
availability.
me, Your Honor. Come on now.
It is.
That's a rush to judgment.
There's no rush to judgment here. You
Did the
keep
state
saying
did the
that,
state
sir,
have to
but
put
that's
their
not the
witnesses?
case.
Your Honor, with all due respect, did the state have to put their witnesses in order and tell me?
It's irrelevant what the state did.
Did they have to do that?
They didn't need your assistance to do that.
Did they have to do it?
No, they did not.
I didn't have to be
do it.
provided with. We're going to call this witness at this time.
But they're able
this witness at this
to
time.
contact
They
their
didn't have to do that, so why should I have to
and
do that?
accommodate their schedules. This is not about you. It's not about the state. It's about the witnesses'
It's about what's fair.
availability.
It's about what's fair.
No, frankly, sir, it's about you trying to control what's happening in this court.
How am I controlling what's happening? I'm the one shackled to the table with
here's the
with a shock
situation.
device
It is
on my ankles.
9:52.
So how's I'm trying to control anything? I just want this
I'm
to be
going
fair,
to
and it hasn't been fair.
Mr. Brooks, it's fair.
No, it's not. If I have to do something that they don't have to do, how's that fair?
But there's
And it's
some things in the
unfair.
ship
It's
that's going
unfair,
on.
and it's disrespectful to me that you think I would come in here purposely and treat this like a joke or a game.
I never said it was a joke.
What type of statement is that? Your life is not on the line. Mine is. And you think that I think this is funny?
I don't think it's funny whatsoever.
So I think, Your Honor, with all due respect, I think you should show some
We're going to
respect.
take a 5-minute break, and when we come back, the jury's coming out, and you need to call your next witness. Thank you. We are in recess.
No, you're not rushing me to judgment. I don't care what you're talking about.
Eventually, Brooks would get a chance to put more questions to his ex-girlfriend in another explosive day of testimony. Commenters pointed out how harrowing it was that an abusive ex was even allowed to cross-examine their victim and championed her resilience for not being scared of him anymore. The interrogation became another prime example of the judge's patience with Darrell's antics. Brooks made pointless points about subject matter jurisdiction and argued with the judge about whether the courtroom audio was on.
Just subject matter jurisdiction, it still has to be proven for the record.
I decline to do so. Your objection is noted for
Is
the
the
record.
audio on?
Your objection is noted for the record.
Is the audio on?
Yes, it's on, sir. It's on.
So we're not going to address subject matter jurisdiction that has yet to be proven for the record.
For the record, I have addressed it.
No, you haven't
And
proven it
there's
for
a
the
written,
record.
and your objection's noted for the
Have
record.
you proven subject matter jurisdiction for the record? Have you proven it? Has the prosecution proven it? So that's a judicial determination that you don't have to answer that, Your Honor, being a public servant?
I was talking to my clerk. I didn't hear what you asked. The jury's coming in.
You heard what I asked.
I actually did not.
Come on, Your Honor. Come on now. We gotta cut that out. You know you have to prove subject matter jurisdiction. You know that. You have to honor your oath of office. You know that.
When Brooks's ex arrived, she was asked numerous questions about their past and relationship, recounting her finding out that her friend Corey had been hit by Brooks prior to the parade murders.
Call your friend Corey or the friend that she had left you to hang out with?
Corey's phone, I kept calling her phone kept going to voicemail, and I called Nick's phone. He put Corey on the phone. I said Darrell Brooks had just hit me.
Brooks then tries to trash her credibility to the jury by attempting to introduce information that was not approved in discovery and is inadmissible, suggesting that she had previously claimed that no incident occurred between them. This led to a huge legal clash, as Brooks repeatedly tried to circumvent court conventions, barring this inadmissible evidence from being used.
There was in fact no incident on November 20th, 2021?
That's not true.
Objection. Move to strike the answer and the question.
Grounds.
Lack of personal knowledge. Hearsay.
Sustained. I'll strike the question and the answer. The reason stated, sir, rephrase, or...
So can I show the witness the same paperwork that I attempted to show?
No.
And why not?
Not relevant.
How's it not relevant when that was just testified to? Wouldn't that be opening the door?
No. Next question.
Any reason why
It would be reported no incident happened on November 20th of 2021.
Same objection.
Grounds.
Seems facts not in evidence. Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain.
The record speaks for itself.
Brooks then tries to show unapproved pictures in the court and is admonished for not following proper procedures.
I don't know if you can see them from here, but do you recognize these pictures?
You need to show those to the state. The bailiff will take them. It's not proper procedure, sir.
These were pictures of their kids, and Brooks was trying to argue that she breached a no-contact agreement by giving these pictures to the defendant, causing another legal clash.
There's been no contact. How would the alleged defendant obtain photographs from you if there's been no contact?
Objection.
Grounds.
Assumes fact not in evidence.
Grounds.
Sustained. Assumes facts not in evidence. Not relevant.
How's it not relevant? Photos just don't pop up out of the blue.
Mr. Brooks assumes facts not in evidence.
No,
And at this
facts.
point,
I got the pictures right here.
after
Facts.
the alleged date of violation here is not relevant.
The judge warned Brooks that introducing more outside evidence opens up the prosecution to do the same thing, which could potentially damage his defense. Brooks then claims a letter that he was going to show was removed from his desk, causing another stir in the courtroom.
And I want
well,
you to
that
make
was the
a
proper
record.
procedure.
If you don't make a record,
So
then
what?
I can't make a ruling.
It threw people off a loop. They weren't ready for it. They scared of it. That's what it is. Come on, man.
Mr. Brooks.
Come on, man. Stop.
When you
Stop
aren't
Stop
even
it.
letting
You're a
me
public
ask the
servant, Your Honor.
questions.
I respect your courtroom. I respect you. You're a public servant, though. Your job is to be the referee. Is it or is it not? You stated so yourself on record that your job is being the umpire.
Your Honor, I ask Ms. Patterson to be excused.
Yes, you can be excused. My apologies.
My apologies too, but it needs to be some truth. Especially when we're talking about stuff that didn't even happen, but they're allowed to get on the stand and say that it happened when they know it didn't happen.
So I'm going to make a record about what
This
he's
is
referring
ridiculous,
to
man.
in count 77. Okay.
And what happened to that paper? Because it was on the table. Then when I
Mr.
come
Brooks,
back in,
I
it's
need to
nowhere
make
be
a
found.
record of a variety of
So
things.
who took my paper?
And you keep interrupting me repeatedly today. I have shown an abundance of patience this morning. I've warned you repeatedly about being removed from the courtroom.
Brooks' claim of receiving the photo from Erica is directly challenged, with Brooks showing an embarrassing lack of legal knowledge or proof.
Again, it assumes facts that aren't here. You're assuming this witness sent it. I don't know. But even if she did, what relevance does it have to her credibility before this jury?
It goes to the credibility because she's put on this facade of being so afraid of someone, but yet still, you know that we're not supposed to have contact, but you still sneaking behind and saying, "Oh, I wonder how you're doing," and "Oh, this and this and that."
I don't think
no,
she's
still
ever
love
said
you.
she was
Oh,
afraid. I think that was the officers who may have stated that. I'm going to ask you point blank, did you get a letter that's signed from her?
I got. What do you mean signed? No
How
one
do you know?
signs letters.
What's your why do you have a belief that they are from her?
I have multiple letters from her.
You're not answering my question. Why do you believe the letters are from Erica Patterson?
Because they were sent from Erica Patterson. Why else would I?
Were they signed by her?
What do you mean signed?
Did she write her name on the letter? Was
Are
it the
you-
content
are you
of the
kidding
letter? No, I'm not kidding you. I need to make a record, sir. You're making a statement that these letters are from her and that they're relevant to her credibility.
Your Honor, I'm gonna go out on the limb here.
And I'm asking you why you hold that opinion.
I'm gonna go out on the limb here and assume, which I know is true, you've never been in my position. You've never been in jail. So you've never received a letter from someone writing someone in jail. No one is gonna when you
You're
say
not
to me,
answering my
when
question,
you say to
sir.
me,
What's the basis why you believe they're from Miss Patterson? Is there some information in them that only she would know? Did she sign the letters? Is it penmanship that you recognize? Why do you believe they're from her as opposed to somebody else sending you information? Could be your mom, could be, I'm just saying, could be anybody else. You got to answer my question. It's called an offer of proof.
But you still got to understand why this is mind-boggling to me. Like, how I got a child with this woman. Why would I not know her handwriting?
These pictures, first of all, should not be admissible. One, because of a discovery violation. We've never seen them before. Two, because we have reason to believe that he did not get them from Erica Patterson. He is on a jail phone call talking to his mother, Dawn Woods. about Dawn Woods sending these photographs to him. Now,
That's a lie. I object to
Let
that.
the state make their argument without interruption, sir.
That's a lie, though.
This led to a courtroom explosion, where the prosecution said that they know from a jail call that the images were not sent by her directly, and that if the images are introduced in an effort to trash the witness's credibility as a bad mother, then the prosecution are free to introduce evidence that she was a minor when Brooks got her pregnant, massively triggering Brooks.
3, I believe that these photographs are designed to make a suggestion to the jury that Erica Patterson is a bad mom. I think that that's what the defendant is trying to do. And if we're going to go down that road, then we would be forced to counter that claim. First of all, it doesn't make her an incredible witness, if it's even true. And second of all, if we go down that road, we would be forced to counter that claim by pointing out that not only does the defendant not live with the child in question, he doesn't live with any of the other children that he has. He impregnated Erica Patterson when she was a minor in Nevada, and for doing so, he was convicted of statutory sexual seduction, pled guilty in March of 2007 to that felony offense, and is a sex offender on the registry as a result. So if there's any causation that would lead to Erica Patterson being a bad mom, Mr. Brooks has a direct role in that causation.
And that's
Furthermore,
I object to that
I'm not
because
done.
that's a lie.
Let him
Because at the
finish.
end of the day,
Let
if
him
we
finish,
gonna open the door
Mr.
on that, no,
Brooks.
since he want to make a record and not be accurate, so let's be accurate all on the record. Since you think you know so much,
Once
so
again,
we can
Mr.
open the
Brooks
door
is
on.
being
We can
loud,
open the door on how old she told me she
disrespectful,
was when we
interrupting.
met. We can ask
He's-
that question
he is
too. Then
over the
Did you
top,
ask that?
animated
Did you
right
know
now.
that?
Mr. Brooks, I'm ordering you to sit down and to let the state
No,
finish.
I'm not going to sit here and let somebody be inaccurate on the record and lie on the record.
Right. Under Illinois versus Allen, I've warned him repeatedly. He's being removed from the courtroom. And you know what? Let me dial that back. We're just going to take an early lunch, 1 hour. We'll be back. And unless he brings that letter and he can show it is inadmissible, she will not be questioned. And under 906.11, I will declare the cross-examination closed. Thank you. We're in recess. 1 hour.
Get your facts straight. So let's open the door on all of it then, so we can get all of it on the record. Since you think you know so much, did you know she said she was 18 when I met her? Did you know that?
The prosecutors had obviously hit a nerve. Brooks would also grin while later calling out the prosecution for what he labeled as coaching the witness during cross-examination, ironically claiming in court to be far from an idiot and doing impressions of the witnesses.
How are some of these answers allowed to pass when they're coming straight from reports made by the people on the stand? Very curious.
I don't understand your question. I'm not sure what you're asking me.
What I'm asking is, reading from the report that the people on the stand are giving, the report that they gave to law enforcement.
If you're asking me whether there's a mechanism in the rules of evidence and how to establish that before the jury, the answer to that is yes. If you're asking me how you do that, I'm not going to answer that.
I didn't ask how. I just, to be blunt, which I've been since the beginning of this trial, obviously, I see the whole strategy here by the prosecution. I see right through it. Don't have any cross-examination, mainly because you've already schooled the people getting on the stand on how to answer certain things.
Well, that is completely speculative on your part without
It's
any
obvious.
basis in law or fact.
It's obvious.
I'm not going to give you any
I don't
more
think I have
legal
to- I don't
advice
think I have
further
to-
than that.
I don't think I have to
So,
call any other witnesses that's
if
not
you're
on the
asking me to
stand.
strike their testimony based on your
I didn't say
perceived,
anything
then that's
about that.
all right. Then I'm going to bring the jury back out. And you're going to call your next witness. So I'm
So
not
is you-
hearing a request from you at this time. You said you wanted to raise a legal issue. What's the legal issue?
The legal issue is how is the state allowed to coach the
You're
people getting on the
assuming they
stand?
spoke to them and coached them.
It's obvious. I'm not stupid.
Well, I disagree with that, sir. Again, you could ask
All of
questions
a
to
sudden,
lay a foundation
all of a sudden the
with
state
these
don't got.
witnesses.
All of a sudden, for the first time in trial, all of a sudden now they don't got no cross. That's clearly a rush to try to get through the case. Hurry up. We just gonna let these people go.
Well, this is argument.
Come on, man.
This is argument on your part,
I
sir.
see
It
through
is
it.
pure
I just
commentary
want
at this
that on
point.
the record. I see through it.
And your
Nice try,
see-through
but I see through it.
has absolutely no basis in
Yeah,
fact.
I know that's what's being done.
You
Come
could
on, man.
ask
I'm-
these questions. You could
Come on,
ask
man.
these
Got the right
witnesses
one.
certain questions, and you're
far,
not.
far from an idiot.
They're your witnesses, sir. If you believe...
So I'm going to start asking every witness up here that they seem just to mysteriously now not have any cross for, have they been coached to answer the way they answer? Because
well, you can't ask that, but you can ask them if they've met with anyone ahead of their testimony here today, which you've done with other witnesses.
I find it very funny that these are their reports, and now all of a sudden you can... Oh, I saw the person in the car. Oh, but
Brooks,
I saw them reach for something.
I don't
recall what they had on.
Mr. Brooks, there's no purpose for you saying this right now.
Don't know what they had on. I find that very...
I'm having the jury brought out. I'm instructing you to avoid the commentary when the jury comes out, or you will forfeit your right to be present.
Upon return, the exchange escalated to a back and forth with the judge.
We should probably discuss that. I would like to provide the defendant and the court with...
So that had to be said. So it's the defendant.
That's not how it was said.
That was how it said. You want to run the record back?
The tension peaked when Brooks fixed the judge with a cartoonishly menacing stare. It looked so overbearing that the judge abruptly halted proceedings, saying that she was scared for her own safety.
Criminal trespass to dwelling from 2006.
Right, I need to take a break. This man right now is having a stare down with me. It's very disrespectful. He pounded his fist. Frankly, it makes me scared. And we're taking a break.
But at this point in the trial, something else shocking would happen behind the scenes that would change absolutely nothing. A since-deleted subreddit called Justice for Darrell emerged on October the 21st, 2022. This would be littered with posts suggesting that Darrell was actually innocent, and the subreddit would not tolerate biased and baseless attacks on him, with a subtitle saying that the new moderators of the subreddit would be removing anything that implied that Brooks was guilty, with commenters thanking the poster and calling the mods brave for challenging the white Reddit hive mind, and suggesting that racist white people were trying to accuse an innocent black man. It would later be adorned with a bizarre banner that referenced the sovereign citizen movement, biblical verses, Black Lives Matter, and a black depiction of Jesus Christ. Other posts following the trial would suggest that there was a bias against Brooks, sharing this video where Brooks claimed that he wasn't informed of the witness orders being shuffled. People in comments on the trial would point out, if this is how he publicly treats a judge in a court of law, then they can't imagine how abusive he is in private with someone he actually knows. Another bizarre post would claim a video shown in court was edited and that there are 5 Darrells in the footage and technology has been used to put him there, and stating that he was clearly being framed by a racist government. The racial element seemed to be a big part of the rhetoric on the subreddit. Another post pointed out that the case had a white judge, white prosecutors, a white jury, white witnesses, and white victims, with victims in quote marks, and a subtitle saying that this was all a setup for a lynching. Others even claimed to be nervous that there would be MAGA riots by angry white Trump supporters if the jurors did what they called the right thing and let Darrell free. However, there were indeed people fighting back and mocking the community for their brainless support for an obvious mass murderer, with one post asking, "So who did it?" and saying the community were as stupid as Brooks, with brainless replies suggesting that Darrell was actually innocent, and even if he did it, he was forced to do it by systemic institutional racism, with the admin of the subreddit, who claimed to be a verified lawyer, swiftly locking this post for misinformation. 2 days would go by as word spread about the subreddit. It would climb to over 100 members, and more sensible Redditors would join and pass judgment on this sordid community, calling members delusional and sickening. At this point, it was clear there was an undercurrent of political trolling, as some would comment that the sub has to be satire or comedy, as Darrell's supporters would respond, telling those admonishing him to go back to their conservative safe spaces, while others downplayed the incident as a simple car crash, and some even argued that Darrell Brooks' beautiful young family are going to be shattered by his imprisonment, and suggesting the detractors hated black love. Now, this is clearly trolling the fact that Brooks went for an underage girl, but it just goes to show how hurtful and vile some of the humor and discourse was around this case. But it's easy to throw shade and fire off jokes from Reddit, but the day before the verdict was due, a peculiar post was posted on the Justice for Darrell subreddit. The title of the post read, "I am a member of the jury on this case. Here are my thoughts on the trial and on this subreddit." The post in its entirety read, "So, to start with, I obviously shouldn't be here. I'm not allowed to look up stuff about this trial or really have any connection with the internet, but nobody actually follows sequestering rules anyway. Hence, I am obviously posting anonymously. I accidentally wandered into here a few days ago from the r/subreddit drama thread on my main Reddit account. Here is my opinion on the trial. First off, I think it's pretty obvious due to the chain of custody that the defendant is in fact Mr. Brooks, and he did do it. However, I've had throughout this trial doubts about various aspects of the case. The judge is clearly biased against Mr. Brooks. I got that feeling from when we were in the room, and my eyes have been open to how she acted towards him when the jury was out of the room. Clearly, she's not an impartial judge, and has been trying to belittle, demean, bully, and pull procedural tricks on him fairly frequently. I had my doubts already, but the subreddit has shown it to me clearly. Mr. Brooks has clearly not been given the chance to plead his case in court. He has been silenced and mocked at almost every turn. While he may be a bit loud or crass at times, I still believe his side deserves to be heard. I do have significant doubts about subject matter jurisdiction. I didn't understand it when discussed in court because the defendant was repeatedly silenced, but I do understand now thanks to this sub, and I agree that subject matter jurisdiction is a great concern here. This subreddit has made me aware of jury nullification, and I'm very grateful for that. Overall, I'm not sure what I will decide. I'm not educated in law, and I have to admit I'm biased against the defendant for the horrible acts that he did. However, it's also clear that this trial is a complete kangaroo court. Mr. Brooks has not been allowed to try and prove his innocence, subject matter jurisdiction, or explain the circumstances surrounding the events. It's hard to imagine what could justify it, but we just can't know because of this trial. For these reasons, I'm torn between locking him up and throwing away the key, or jury nullification. Both have arguments for and against them, and I'm not looking forward to choosing. I'm mostly writing this to help myself process my thoughts on this, but please let me know what you think. A mod in the subreddit pinned a comment claiming that the user submitted proof that they were indeed a juror and they verified the authenticity of the claims. But in a sub as unhinged as this, that's a pretty worthless statement. People in the comments gleefully bragged that they had sent the post to the courthouse, while others claimed that if this is real, he's screwed. Soon after this Reddit post was brought up in the trial, people would begin to post asking who was pretending to be a juror, calling the prank hilariously illegal. A comment theorized that it was one of his family members or friends and pointed out his mother had tried to file a class action and claimed that this was a play to get a mistrial. Another person predicted that the mods of the subreddit would be getting a subpoena from law enforcement. The subreddit in the insane post would indeed be brought up in court by the judge, which she brushed off as a prank, which was being investigated by the sheriff's department.
The only other thing I would put on the record is I have received information regarding the Reddit post, that there was a subsequent post from that website indicating that it was a prank. And so I don't know to what extent the sheriff's department is looking into that as well, but it's my understanding, based on news reports, that that entire post or site was taken down. Not the site of Reddit, but it's no longer, I believe, viewable. But there was that additional information regarding that, at least from the administrator, I believe, of that post. So I just wanted to put that on the record. And if and when, or I should say when, the investigation is completed, I will assure the parties that you will be provided with that information.
Ironically, despite the judge brushing this aside, Brooks seemed disappointed, as it was clear he was depending on this being useful as a defense in the courtroom and potential grounds for a mistrial.
So it's being called a prank?
Per the Reddit post itself, yes.
So we don't have any idea if that's a fact though, right?
You're correct. I'm just putting on the record the additional information that's been reported on. And then again, once the sheriff's department concludes their investigation, it will be turned over to the parties.
I'm still very concerned about this whole Reddit thing after having the chance to fully read it and look at some of the language that's in it. It's very concerning.
That's why there's an investigation, sir. It's anytime there's an allegation that the integrity of this judicial process has been compromised, especially with a juror, I take that incredibly seriously, which is why I turned it over to the sheriff's department. What's your specific request?
My specific request would be to look into a mistrial and also any alternatives along those lines, short of that or along those lines, or a mistrial.
Brooks seemingly accidentally played his card and admitted that he was responsible, claiming that the language of the post must have come from someone inside the courtroom with knowledge of the trial.
The language is pretty clear that this, if not directly came from a juror who sits on this panel, it came from someone who sits in this courtroom every single day. The language, it directed towards you, Your Honor, directed towards having clear bias towards the defense. Some of the things that they quoted of having knowledge of is extremely concerning. Extremely concerning. And then
before the verdict even hit, the sub Justice for Darrell had been duly shut down and banned from Reddit permanently, likely due to the attempt to interfere with the trial. Ultimately, Brooks's Reddit Hail Mary proved futile and didn't deliver him the get-out-of-jail-free card he'd been hoping for, and as the last few days of the trial unwinded, it was clear that Brooks was cooked, and he would use his final days to ramp up the drama, having strange public tantrums in front of the courtroom that drove the internet wild. Towards the end of the trial, Brooks was back to his old ways. Exiled into the adjacent room, he decided to construct a makeshift fortress of boxes, but his attempt to commandeer the space was short-lived as the bailiff swiftly dismantled his cardboard barricade.
And Your Honor, would it be possible for the bailiffs to just move the boxes off the table so
Yes,
we can
I think
see?
that's fair. I'm going to advise the bailiff to remove the box so I can see.
Frustration mounted, and Brooks responded by violently hitting his desk and screaming at the judge.
Or deletions from the packet that has been provided to you.
Hey, why do you tell them to move my box? I can't hear everything you're saying!
From here, he would continue to rage out at the judge for not being able to hear and yelling how agitated he was and that God is watching her and she should be ashamed.
I just told you, am I muted? Am I muted?
No.
I just told you, I don't know how many times, I can't hear everything you said.
Then you should put the headphones on.
Don't you understand? What about that don't you understand? If you see headphones, you can see everything, you can see boxes, but then you see headphones.
Have you asked for headphones to be provided, sir?
I shouldn't have to ask for them. I asked for my boxes to be moved.
I believe they took them away previously because you were so agitated they were perhaps afraid you might break them.
Yeah, I'm still agitated. I ain't gonna stop being agitated. That ain't gonna stop. You sit up here and do everything you're doing and think God don't see what you're doing. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Brooks goes on to argue that the judge is playing games with him and questioning why he even needs to be president.
Go ahead, Mr. Brooks.
Don't sit up here and try to play no game talking about you giving somebody an opportunity because you haven't gave me an opportunity to properly defend myself and put evidence, put stuff into evidence, which I've asked you repeatedly to do before we even got to the trial. You told me we wasn't in the evidentiary phase.
Mr. Brooks, do you have any other requests as it relates to the jury instructions? This is probably the 10th or so time I've asked you this question.
No, it's not. No, it's not. So please stop being incorrect, Your Honor. Please stop.
Do you have any additional requests as it relates to the jury instructions?
Yeah. That first count 74 bill jumping needs to be dismissed. You can't charge me with two things. You can't charge me with the same charge twice.
All right, I've made a note of that. What's the next issue?
Either one county gonna charge me with it or y'all, but it can't be both. It's the same, it's pursuant to the same exact thing that I was gonna bill for. The same exact thing, the same exact case. So why are we giving the jury instructions on two cases from another county?
I've made a note of that. What other requests do you have?
Man, this is ridiculous. So I'm not even able to adequately defend myself, present evidence, do anything, because everything I say is gonna be found a reason for it not to be valid. What are we doing here, Your Honor? What is the
Mr. Brooks.
Why should I be here when
I've made a note of your request as to count 74. Do you have any other requests as it relates to the jury instructions?
Why are we even having jury instructions? Why do I have to even sit here in this courtroom at this point? Because everything you've been doing without my consent anyway, so you're gonna find a way to do this without my consent. So why do I need to be here for?
Your objection for lack of consent is noted for the record.
Brooks builds another box fort to hide behind and then tells the judge not to ask him questions.
Otherwise, they need to be moved away from the microphones and away from blocking his face.
I'm not putting them there. I'm not putting them there to just thank you. I'm putting them there for a reason. I'm not to do with her being able to see.
Mr. Brooks, do you have any position on the verbiage of jury instructions 70 on page 65?
Don't ask me no question. Are you my accuser? Are you my accuser, Your Honor?
All right, he's choosing not to answer, so I'll mute him again. It's unfortunate that he's deciding not to participate in this.
Up to that point, his antics had painted him as a man consumed by rage, a volatile presence, seemingly capable of the heinous accusations that he was facing. But soon, when justice was delivered, his fake insanity act would fall apart and the facade would collapse, just like Darrell's defense. Brooks was defiant to the very end and would continue to argue with the judge about arbitrary things before the end of the trial, claiming not to understand proceedings and even boldly inferring that there may not even be a conviction or sentencing, and suggesting that if he lost, there would be unrest and people on his side would need to address the court, therefore any potential sentencing should be held off, with the judge holding back her sarcasm and saying that if there is a conviction, she will check her calendar and see how many people want to speak on his behalf and if there's time for it.
There was a mention of if there is a conviction in this matter, there is a mention of sentencing, which I'm assuming there'll be some type of people may want to speak. I know if there is a conviction on my half, people would definitely want to address the court. There'll be a lot of affairs that need to be put in order, obviously on my side. If it pleases the court, if there is a conviction in this matter, I would like the sentencing to not be so quick. I'm asking if it pleases the court for the sentencing to be held off into a later time, not a day or two or a week, just so that affairs can be put in order properly, and so that the people that want to come in and speak will have the opportunity to address the court.
I think
If
that's a
that
fair
pleases,
request, sir.
If that pleases.
I think that's a fair request. I thought about that some more overnight, that in the event there is a conviction, that I would like to give the parties an opportunity to do that. I have no idea how many people would want to speak. My inclination would be, again, and this is not set in stone, if there is a conviction on any of these counts, I may ask the parties to just come back in on Monday, October 31st with kind of a proposed plan of how many people do you think will speak on your behalf, how long do you think it will take, so that I can look at my calendar and then set aside the appropriate amount of time. I certainly don't want to rush anything, and I think that's a fair request that you're making.
Thank you.
All right. So with all of that then, sir, subject matter jurisdiction, I decline to address that further. I stand by the written decision that I've made previously. As far as the rulings made yesterday regarding your ability or inability to present further testimony and witnesses and to testify yourself, the court did make various rulings and findings that you had forfeited your right to do so by conduct. I'm not going to further explain the law or these prior rulings to you. I stand behind them, and I believe I made a very, very clear record. So to the extent that you are asking me to reconsider any of that, that's how I would interpret your statements here today. I decline to do so.
Brooks would go on to claim that he wasn't allowed to submit evidence in the trial, and arguing with the judge, who claimed that he was given ample opportunities to present evidence and interrogate witnesses.
That's still not, I have no understanding to why I wasn't given the opportunity to place certain things into evidence. I have virtually nothing, zero evidence that I was able to place into evidence, nothing.
I disagree with that, sir. You called, I think, 9 witnesses on your behalf on various issues, including the honking of the horn, the window tinting. You cross-examined many of the state's witnesses about police barricades and the presence of police. So you did present evidence.
I'm speaking to the terms of everything that Your Honor asked me to do. You told me to put everything that I needed to present to the courts in writing. You made that ruling. You told me that's what I needed to do. I did that.
Mr. Brooks, you may have interpreted that. I did not require you to do that. as far as evidence in the case. I very expressly told you there are rules of procedure and rules of evidence that govern exhibits, testimony, witnesses, etc. What I told you is that any requests that you have related to the case, if it's a motion, be put in writing. I specifically referenced the statute 80201 regarding how a motion is made and what it should contain, meaning it has a very express request for relief and states the law and the facts upon which the request is being made. I stand by my ruling. I'm not revisiting it. To the extent that you claim lack of understanding or your lack of consent, it's been made abundantly clear on this record your position on that. I'm not revisiting it. I'm further advising you that when this jury comes out, I expect that you will honor the decisions that were made, not agree, but you will honor them and not interrupt the court or these proceedings as I instruct the jury.
Closing arguments would come ahead of the sentence, as the prosecution recounted the grisly details and their desire to uphold justice and safety for the people of Waukesha. Brooks interrupted frequently to argue with the picture that was being painted of him.
You've watched these proceedings and you've noticed as we sit at our prosecution table, we don't have a client at our table. But rest assured, we do represent someone. We represent the people of the state of Wisconsin. It's an entity. I can't bring it to the courtroom. People enact laws. People want to feel safe. People have representatives in Madison or Washington, D.C. that set standards, rules that we all are expected to live by. And when those rules are violated, prosecutors step in and enforce the law. Darrell Brooks does not represent anybody. He does not have a client. Darrell Brooks is the client. Darrell Brooks is the defendant. The state of Wisconsin is the plaintiff. I'm going to ask you for your guilty vote at the end of my comments. It's up to you.
Attorney Hopper, I'm sorry for the interruption. Your objection, sir?
Mischaracterization of who I am and the way it was said. I feel like it was talking down.
All right, your objection's noted. It's overruled. The state may continue.
Number one, first and foremost, just stop driving. That's it. It's really that simple. Not one person had to be hurt that day if he would have just stopped driving.
You specifically, I'm sorry, can I be heard?
Your objection, sir?
I didn't know if I was on mute or not.
You're not.
You specifically said in your jury instructions that intent cannot be, you can't look into someone's mind, I think is what it says, to find intent. So how could that be characterized as someone knowing for sure intent or not knowing for sure intent?
You're making an argument. You'll have an opportunity to do that later. Your objection's noted. It's overruled. The state may continue.
I apologize.
How do I know it was intentional? Because even Darrell Brooks told Detective Carpenter, I could tell something was going on downtown. No reasonable person would drive upon this area, see the squads with their red and blues on, see the officers in the street with their bright yellow vests, see all the people milling around, see the floats lining up and the participants getting ready, and not know to drive safely, slowly, and obey officers. The barricades help us prove it was intentional. The police presence help us prove it's intentional. The parade participants help us prove it's intentional. And the parade spectators help us prove it's intentional.
Excuse me, Attorney Hopper. Your objection, sir?
Speculation as to what the alleged defendant said he saw. It was never...
Your objection's noted. It's overruled. This is closing arguments, not the evidentiary phase. Go ahead, Attorney Hopper.
So how can speculation be made to what was saw? If
Your
that was never
objection's
testified
noted.
to?
It's overruled. Continue, Attorney Opera.
Honking the horn. Quite interesting that Mr. Brooks asked so many witnesses if they heard the horn honking. It was intentional. He reached speeds of approximately 30 miles an hour. That's intentional. He plowed through 68 different people. 68. How can you hit one and keep going? How can you hit two and keep going? How can you hit three and keep going? Didn't faze him a bit. He kept going until he got to the end, and there was no more bodies to hit. It's
Your objection,
intentional.
sir?
Mischaracterization of the evidence.
Noted. Overruled.
It wasn't an accident. It wasn't intentional. Never said that to Detective Carpenter. No, he came up with some convoluted story about, I got a ride out here from a buddy in a tan Kia, and then I left to go meet Erica, and we got into a fight, and then I went back, and the other guy got into a fight, and he was leaving, so I took off on foot. Absolutely nonsensical story. Does not match up with the known evidence in this case.
Overruled.
He never
I
stopped.
didn't even state the objection.
This is closing argument. She may continue.
That's intent, folks. No reasonable person is going to come across a group of teenagers playing band instruments, drive over them, and keep going. That's a still shot of the same thing. That's intent.
I'm sorry to interrupt your objection, sir.
How can you tell the jury what they supposed to think?
It's proper argument. Your objection's noted. It's overruled. You may continue.
I would argue that it's, I would say that it's improper, and I move
Mr.
for a
Brooks, I've made
mistrial.
my ruling. I'm going to mute you if you don't follow the rules.
Exhibit
I move for a mistrial.
Exhibit 152. Darrell Edward Brooks Jr., date of birth 2/21/1982, on his identification card issued by the state of Wisconsin. In all capital letters, Darrell Edward Brooks Jr. This was in his pocket when they arrested him. So this entire shenanigans that he's presented to you through his questioning of witnesses about, I'm not Darrell Brooks and that's my name and I don't know who that is and I don't consent to being called that name. It's just nothing but a distraction. It's Darrell Brooks. It's the man who drove through the Waukesha Christmas parade and killed people, injured people, endangered the safety of people.
I'm sorry. Your objection, sir?
Your Honor, with all due respect, I would appreciate the quote-unquote language what does she mean by shenanigans and this and that and the third?
Sir, your objection's noted. It's overruled. The state may continue.
Well, can she tone that back? Because if that was me, if I would have said
Mr.
something
Brooks,
like
your
that, it would have been a
objection
problem.
is noted. It's overruled. These are closing arguments. There's nothing improper. It's noted. It's overruled. She may continue.
I just wanted to be fair.
You'll have an
Your Honor, that's it.
opportunity to respond, sir. Please let her finish.
So I can rebuttal?
Go ahead, Attorney Opera.
Thank you.
The prosecution closed with a compilation of the damning videos captured at the scene and a final statement urging the jury to keep this psychotic killer off the streets for good.
It's time for Darrell Brooks to stop running. It's time for him to stop lying. It's time for him to be held accountable for his actions. Darrell Brooks cowardly rammed his way through this parade, violently killing and injuring so many people. I'm going to stop talking and play this video, but please, I ask you to add up the evidence, use the map, 15. You can check off the names. We've covered them all. Walk down that street like we did with you. Return guilty verdicts on all counts.
Brooks's closing argument fell flat on its face. He started by telling the jurors they had the power to see the truth, nullify the law, and free him despite the evidence, and talked down on the DA for having used rehearsed speeches and downplayed the power of the judge.
It's been a long day. First off, I'd just like to start by letting you guys know that it's a lot of information that you guys should be privy to, I believe. And one thing that I believe that you have not been privy to is the truth of your rights and your duties. Being the jury. The fact that you and you alone have the power, not well-prepared DAs with well-prepared and clearly rehearsed speeches and exhibits and a lot of theatrics. Frankly, not the judge. You and you alone have the power. You and you alone decide what is truth and what isn't truth. You should be informed that you have the power to nullify any law that you don't agree with.
Objection. Move to strike the statement.
Sustain.
Objection.
I will strike from the record the last statement made by the defendant. The jury will disregard it.
Which is clearly what I've been saying.
Brooks claimed that he was speaking from the heart rather than a rehearsed speech like the DA did, and that he doesn't argue with facts because they're a waste of time.
Just like I did with my opening statements. I don't have a well-prepared or rehearsed speech. I didn't look in the mirror and say certain points to myself over and over again to make sure I have them right or anything like that. I've chosen to speak from the heart in my opening statements, and now I'm going to speak from the heart. What you won't hear me do is argue facts. And the reason you won't hear me argue facts is because I believe that it takes away from what should be recognized. The tragedy of this event, it should be recognized. Trying to argue facts of this, facts of that, I'm not going to waste your time doing that.
Brooks took an emotional pause, telling the jury he had no tears left after such a hard year and that he should be forgiven by the jury as part of the healing process.
It's a little emotional. I apologize for the long pause. It's hard to keep everything together emotionally. And honestly, I don't believe that I have any more tears left. It's been a hard year for the families, mostly, and that should not be lost on anyone. It shouldn't be taken away. I said it before and I'll say it again. It's a lot of people that are healing, that are attempting to heal. That opens the door to talk about forgiveness for a little bit. With every healing process, there comes a forgiving process. It's not an easy thing for anyone.
He called out the prosecution for what he called reruns, repeating the same evidence over and over again, like a song on the radio that gets stuck in your head.
What you've been hearing from the prosecution, and not to take anything away from them, let's call it what it is, you've been hearing a lot of rerun. Same things over and over and over. No different than when you turn on the radio and you first hear that song that you don't like when you first hear it, but they play it so much that eventually you start saying it, the words to yourself before you even realize it. And then you sit and you go, I hate that song. Why am I singing it? That's what's been happening. Rerun. Over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Attempting to make things stick in your head that simply aren't true.
Brooks then went back to the horn argument, saying how could he have possibly wanted to get anyone hurt if he was honking his horn?
I find it hard to believe that anyone who's really had conversations with me, spent time around me, would think for 1 second that this is an intentional act. I've never heard of someone intentionally trying to hurt someone while attempting to blow their horn. While attempting to alert people of their presence. Why would someone with intent to kill and rage try to alert people of their presence? Repeatedly honk their horn. You heard a detective, if you recall, testify that the vehicle that he observed was not only honking his horn, but was not speeding. So where does this rage kick in?
He even told the jury about a recall for the make and model of that vehicle, suggesting that after all of this, it was actually a car malfunction that was the cause of all the death, causing numerous objections.
Vehicle in question, make and model of 2010 Ford Escape. The vehicle in question, actually 2008, 2009, and 2010 of that model was in fact recalled.
Objection, misstatement of the facts, facts not in evidence.
Was in fact,
proper argument, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Was in fact recalled. Was in fact a class action lawsuit against Ford
Objection,
for those
facts
model
not in evidence,
for
Your
those
Honor.
model vehicles.
Sustained. The juror will disregard.
Information that you should have been privy to, that you weren't allowed to be privy to. Why? I don't know. That information, malfunctioning throttle bodies.
Mr. Brooks, move out.
It's information that you should have been privy to. Vehicles that malfunction and accelerate not being able to be stopped.
Objection, that is.
It's information, it's information.
There's an objection. Hold on. Go ahead.
Move to strike statements by
Sorry
Mr.
for the
Brooks.
interruption.
They are facts not in evidence, Your Honor, and it's a complete misstatement.
Sustained. Strike
How's it a
the-
misstatement when I have the information?
Mr. Brooks, move on.
This is information that I feel like you needed to know. You should have known. Information that was taken away from you. Which brings me back to the vehicle. What if the vehicle couldn't stop because of the malfunction?
Objection, fact not in evidence.
What if the driver of the vehicle was unable to stop the vehicle? Because of that fact, what if the driver may have panicked? Does that make the driver a crazed, or not crazed, a rage? Does that make the driver in a rage and intent on killing people?
He went on to claim that it's impossible for him to have utter disregard for human life when he himself has children.
DA says the defendant has an utter disregard for human life. Utter disregard for human life. Not realizing that they're talking about someone that has children. Talking about someone that watched their children come out of the womb and be born into this world, cut the umbilical cord, held them before their mom even did. Moments that I'll never forget. And yet they say disregard, utter disregard for human life.
Brooks even tried to play victim, claiming that he has prayed for the victims, but no one cares about his friends and family who've been shunned for associating with him, claiming that his mother had to go into hiding and his kids and young relatives are getting bullied at school.
Go back to trying to wrap my head around everything that's happened in the last year. Praying for those families, praying for the people that tragically lost their life, because that should not be lost either. The fact that there was lives lost and all the emphasis has been put on the alleged defendant and the people have been disregarding. Makes me wonder, does the DA even care about those people? There's been prayers going up every day. It's been suffering on both sides. It's been threats, hate mail, because of the narratives that's been put out there, misconceptions that have been put out there, the lies that have been put out there, lies that have caused my children not to be able to go to school, to be bullied, for my mother to have to leave her home and stay at a hotel because she's afraid for her safety, because she gets hate mail shoved through her mailbox.
He goes on to say that besides the victims, nobody has had their heart broken more by this than him.
And I know sometimes during this trial probably doesn't show. May be hard to believe, but trust me when I say no one outside of the families that had to go through this, no one's heart is more in pieces than mine.
Ironically, he urged the jury to make the right decision in the case whilst doing a fake cry and pulling a sad face and staring right at all of them.
Look inside yourself and make the right decision. Look inside your heart. You have everything in your hands now. Everything. Do what's right.
He said that throughout the year, he'd been called a lot of things, but he's not a murderer.
Throughout this year, I've been called a lot of things. And to be fair, I am a lot of things. murderer is not one of them. Never has been, never will be.
And that murderer closed his statement trying to glaze the jury, urging them again to do the right thing and encouraging a round of applause for them.
Do what you know is right. Make sure you yourself can live with it. Be at peace with what you decide. It's been about 3 weeks with you. Took a lot of courage and a lot of guts to pause your life for this. To put important things on hold. To basically stop your life. You should be commended for being able to sit up here with this amount of pressure. I want you guys to know that's not lost on me. I'm sure it's a lot. And you all should be commended because it took courage to do this. I don't know, but I would bet a lot of people wouldn't want to be sitting in your position right now. And you guys had the guts to do it. Thank you for that. Thank you for taking pretty much a month and setting it to the side for this. I know it's probably not proper, but you guys deserve a round of applause if you could get one. I believe in your heart you know what's right. Thank you.
On October the 26th, 2022, after nearly 3 hours of deliberation, the jury finally returned with their decision, and the result surprised nobody.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Darrell E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 2 of the information. Did the defendant commit first-degree intentional homicide while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes.
Burn in hell, you piece of...
Hey, you are to be removed right now. You will not do that.
Darrell Brooks was found guilty of all charges in connection with the Waukesha Christmas parade attack. Moments later, the mayor's office issued a statement. Justice, it seemed, had finally been served.
The mayor of Waukesha released a statement just moments ago saying in part, quote, "Today we are glad that the trial is over and that justice will be served for all those impacted by this tragedy."
The trial had been so bizarre and dramatic that soon compilations of Brooks's outbursts were making the rounds on YouTube. And next was the sentencing. The sentencing was set for November over 2 days, where the full weight of Brooks's actions were laid bare. During a hearing on his sentencing, the prosecutors announced their intentions to throw the book at Brooks, all while Brooks himself continued to interrupt and accuse the DA of being disrespectful and even sarcastically clapping at one point.
He takes advantage of everyone. He's extremely manipulative. He absolutely thinks he's in control of everything, when in fact, as he sits here in custody, he's in control of nothing except for his own behavior.
Mr. Brooks, be quiet.
I'm not going to sit here and be disrespected.
Mr. Brooks, be quiet.
I'm not going to sit here and be disrespected.
These are sentencing arguments and they can make them.
So I could do the same thing?
Mr. Brooks, there's nothing disrespectful. They are doing it in
yes,
a respectful way.
Yes, it is. Okay, call me out of my name again.
So many people talked this afternoon about good versus evil, and I definitely believe that's what this case was about. Darrell Brooks is the epitome of evil. He is evil in person.
Courtroom, please.
No, we may not.
The community is good.
Order
The people are good.
I think it'd be
The
best for me to
victims
just go
are
into the
good.
other
Mr.
courtroom.
Brooks, I'm talking.
I don't care about you talking.
I don't care what you care about.
I know you don't.
Sit down and be quiet.
Nah.
Everybody has told you that.
Nah. See, you got it all wrong, Miss Opper.
Judge, the community has spoken. This jury returned a verdict in 2 hours. That's how open and shut this case was.
Well, actually, it was
everybody saw it. Everybody but Darrell Brooks. This jury deserves to be commended for their conduct, their patience, their service.
Mr. Brooks?
I asked to go to the other courtroom.
I'm not sending you there.
So we wouldn't have to go.
It's not. That is not a place you get to request to go to. It's when you disrupt the proceedings. She's almost done.
Disrupt the proceedings. I'm trying to go to the other courtroom so she can finish saying the
I
BS
wanted-
she got to say.
I wanted to share something with you, Judge. We're done with him. He has forfeited his right to be in this courtroom. He's forfeited his right to be in our community, period. There is not one thing that mitigates this sentence, not one. He deserves the absolute maximum sentence on all counts consecutive. It played out repeatedly in this courtroom. He tried to intimidate you, he tried to intimidate me, he tried to intimidate the witnesses. He tries and tries and tries, but he fails. He's not the strongest person in the courtroom, he's the weakest person in the courtroom. Morally bankrupt. That's what he is. His character is void.
It's very emotional and frustrating right now, so I apologize to you, Your Honor, in court.
I understand it's frustrating, and I understand that
It's just very hard to sit and, it's almost like a pile. So I still understand that I have to conduct myself respectfully, so I apologize.
Victims were given the floor to recount the deep personal scars left by that horrific day. As one heartbroken victim detailed the trauma inflicted upon his family, Brooks appeared almost indifferent, repeatedly rolling his eyes at the painful testimony.
Because of your actions, my wife cannot get the images out of her mind of what you have done. You have forever scarred her. Because of your actions, my wife had to hand over my children to our community friends.
A justifiably emotional mother then launched into a searing tirade against Brooks for his blatant disregard and disrespect.
Ability to have, please don't do that. It's so disrespectful. I've watched all day on TV, and I've watched you mock all of the victims all day. You roll your eyes and you make faces. If this was your 8-year-old daughter that someone else hit, you would have been beside yourself if someone made those faces.
In another raw moment, an enraged survivor bluntly wished that day would come when he could urinate on Brooks's grave, a stark symbol of his fury.
Sadly, with no death penalty in this state, I can only hope they lock you away someplace so deep the rats chew on your fingers at night. As for me, this will never be over until the day I'm pissing on your grave.
Adding insult to injury, the son of one of the parade victims, the dancing granny Leanna Joy Owen, struck Brooks with the harsh label of child-killing child abuser.
The reason none of the witnesses saw her in this courtroom is because she was executed by a child-killing offender.
Finally, the judge, who had conducted herself with unwavering professionalism throughout the trial, delivered her judgment.
you left a path of destruction, chaos, death, injury, confusion, and panic as you drove 7 or so blocks through the Christmas parade, never once stopping or seemingly caring about the wake of carnage that you left.
Despite Brooks's repeated attempts to disrupt the proceedings, efforts that earned him another timeout in the adjacent courtroom, she stood firm.
Mr. Brooks, this is my time. You need to not interrupt.
That's the reason why the charge was dropped.
Mr. Brooks,
the state
you need to stop.
Said specifically, wrote you, Your Honor, and said that they know it was no incident that day.
The judge handed down a life sentence without the possibility of parole, earning claps from those in attendance.
This court is imposing a life sentence without the possibility or eligibility for extended supervision consecutive to one another. 1 life sentence for Virginia Sorensen.
But she wasn't done. In total, Darrell Brooks received 6 consecutive life sentences, plus more than 700 additional years in prison. Despite his tough guy persona and blatant disregard for his victims throughout the trial and sentencing, it was clear that deep down, Brooks was rattled. This was exemplified by the fact that he appeared in court to file a post-conviction release notice wearing a vest, with him apparently being placed on watch, with many people pointing out the chilling detail that post-sentencing he would finally drop his insanity act and sit in the courtroom calmly, still asking the judge for legal advice.
Is there any additional paperwork that I may need to file in regards to that, or?
I can't give you legal advice, sir.
I'm not asking that, I'm just saying, is it?
But regardless, it was too late. Darrell Brooks was cooked from the moment he put his foot on the gas and aimed his car at innocent people. And while the wheels of justice moved slower than the wheels of his red Ford, they continued moving. And in the end, it would be Darrell Brooks and his future crushed under the wheels of justice like he had crushed the dreams of his victims. And thankfully, for the people of Waukesha, this dangerous moron would never be able to cause them pain ever again. While the man who caused untold devastation to the residents of Waukesha was finally dealt justice, the scars in the community he left would never truly heal. As time went on, the town would overcome the fear and terror that Brooks had instilled into their community and move on with their lives, as well as honoring those who lost theirs. Wrestler Braun Strowman made a documentary where he honored the life of 8-year-old superfan who lost his life, Jackson Spark. The residents of Waukesha didn't let this tragedy stop them carrying on the legacy of their annual Christmas parade either. And since then, the parade security has been enhanced dramatically with more robust street closures and modular vehicle barriers designed to protect the crowd from this ever happening again. And after the deadly events of 2021, a memorial was set up at Greed Park in honor of the lives lost and those still suffering. And there's a yearly dedication ceremony honoring those who passed and survived this vicious incident. The dancing grannies reflected on the tragedy 3 years later.
He took the lives of our friends away.
Friends lost, but their lives forever memorialized at this monument in Greedy Park, set to be dedicated Thursday.
I feel honored that they're doing this for our family, for our friends.
And a new memorial to the tragedy was unveiled in 2024. Ultimately, while this strong community was able to pick themselves up, move forward, and not let an evil piece of scum like Darrell Brooks stop them from spreading Christmas joy, the sad truth is that because of one man's selfish and impulsive acts of murder, there are now kids who won't hear their grandparents sing happy birthday to them again, and parents that won't sing happy birthday to their child again either. This video is dedicated to the memory of those who lost their lives in this senseless attack. They will never be forgotten.